And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the third round of the second season of the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series, presented by Full Send Racing Network, coming to you live tonight from the virtual Mid-Ohio Sportscar course, the third venue of the season, and what is already turning out to be an incredible Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series season so far. I am, as always, your host for the second road course this season, the third week overall, and the fourth season now that I've hosted a league such as this one. Should be a great night tonight. I'm really looking forward to, well, again, what is our second road course of the season, and it is very different than Imola in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways should be just as exciting. There I am your host, as always, your broadcast producer, your commentator, your series founder, really everything to this point in the season so far. I am your host, Mr. Marshall Crocker Jr. I always got to clarify the Crocker Jr. part, because my father, Marshall Crocker Sr., does race in the series, and always got to make sure to clarify. He's had a pretty good season for himself so far, but I'm sure we will talk about him plenty on in the night. But yeah, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for returning for the third race of what is meant to be a great season. Andrew Bedrosian is having some internet troubles, so we'll pick a different driver to put in the background there. But we are just a couple minutes removed from the end of our warm-up practice. Remember, we do an hour of practice before every race here in the Snowstorm Series, so those start at 7, but these broadcasts go live at 8, so we're about to go to qualifying in just a moment. And we'll talk a little bit more about tonight's track at Mid-Ohio Sportscar Course, a track we've only run in the series once before in the past, so we'll be sure to talk about that as we go forward and give you all the details you need to know about this approximately 2.5 kilometer long track. But before we go too far, there's somebody we got to welcome back to the broadcast booth, and I say welcome back because he has appeared here before, but tonight he's making his debut in season 2 of the Snowstorm Series, Mr. Jack Hillier. So first of all, driver of the number 44, you're a series regular in your own right, Jack, but tonight you're stepping out of the car and you're going to do some commentating for us. So do you want to kind of give some people a little bit of background about yourself, talk about your experience in racing, and as we head into qualifying, what you expect in tonight's event here at Mid-Ohio?
It's nice to be back in the broadcast booth with you, and this year was my first wheel karting year, and so hopefully that will help going on further into the season. And
yeah, you're a karting driver at Canadian Mini Indy, the very same track that I and many others in this series have made their debuts at. I know that, I think a couple of these drivers here maybe got started about as young as I did. I got started in rookie karting back when I was, I think, 7 all the way back in the day. That would have been back in the ye old days of 2010. So it's certainly been quite a while for me. But yeah, such a great place to get your start. We always talk about Canadian Mini Indy because they are part of the channel, so our partner of the channel, I should say. So great that we can give them a bit of a shout out tonight. But yeah, I mean, we're now 2 races into the season, Jack. We've had one road course, one oval. You ran at both. Just talk a little bit about, what you think the Formula Renault car has been like for you this season, what sort of racing it creates, and just tonight at Mid-Ohio, based on what you're aware of the track, what sort of racing would you expect tonight for our third round of the season?
yeah, well, based on how this season has gone so far, it's going to be an exciting race with these drivers. It's going to be. Anyone could win at this track. It's kind of like Imola. A lot of places to make some small mistakes that could cost you the race. And the Formula Renaults, they are, especially at Imola, hard to control, and especially when you're new to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're definitely not an easy car to learn. One that does take a little bit of certainly some practice, but a lot of patience to be sure. It's one of those cars that throttle control is a very key aspect. So the car likes to jump around. The back end is very twitchy, and often for the better, because it is such a fast car. It's got to make turns so quickly. The back end does need to be quick and able to make those quick transitions. But as a result, if you get a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, the car can definitely flip around on you in an instant. So it's not an easy one to learn, but certainly a rewarding one once you do. We are now just getting to the start of qualifying. You see the timer up there on the top left. We are now about 2 minutes in. Each lap here at Mid-Ohio takes about 1 minute and 10 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark, about 1 minute and 11, minute 12. Likely going to be the pull time here at Mid-Ohio. So quick laps. Somebody should be just about finished up their first lap attempt. And well, we're going to follow on board with a guy who occasionally has some rough internet connection troubles, but Andrew Bedrosian, your pole sitter for both the first 2 rounds of the season. So he's been off to quite the hot start here in the Snowstorm Season 2. He was the runner-up in Season 1 last year, and he is a name that if you, maybe haven't been exposed to him enough this season, you are certainly going to hear a lot more of going forward. One of the Americans in the series, he crosses for the first lap of the qualifying session, puts down a 1:11.206. Great starting time for him. Tanner Dignard's going to put down a 1:12.9, so starting to see the times come in now. Trevor Anderson, last race's winner when we were at the Oval there at Phoenix just 1 week ago. Unfortunately, probably not going to have time tonight for a race recap, but if you haven't seen that race already, go back and watch it. All races are posted on the channel, and what an event that was for the second race of the season. Trevor Anderson getting off to a great start there. Plenty of times getting put down. Max Preston sets a good lap time. Justin Lulick sets a good lap time there. The number 55 Red Bull entry is already up to a pretty good spot on the board within that, just outside that 111 boundary, I should say. Marshall Crocker Sr. as well puts down a good time in that number 15 Retro Williams entry. So currently 9 drivers on the board right now. Fred Zufelt making his debut here in the road courses. He was there last week at Phoenix, but this is his first event being in the series at a road course. So we'll see what he can do tonight to start. But yeah, like I was saying there, last week's winner, Trevor Anderson, and you were in that race, Jack. We've seen Trevor be a guy who's pretty quick in the past at the road courses, but you know, what's your experience with him, and how much do you think you can carry over from an oval to a road course in terms of skill set?
Yeah, last weekend at Phoenix, it was interesting race to say. A lot of things happened, but with racing with Trevor this season and last season, I think he could challenge for the championship easily, and momentum with him or with any of these drivers from road to oval.
Yeah, momentum is such a crucial thing. You know, having success one week really inspires you, I think, to really push for the next week and try to keep the ball rolling. Max Preston just jumped over Trevor Anderson, who Trevor did set a 1:11.3 second time, so he has definitely got pace in him tonight. But Max Preston, who was quick all week in practice, not falling too far behind in a 1:11.07 flat, so not a bad time whatsoever. Nick Nickerson, first road course winner of the season back at Imola 2 weeks ago. He's going to go to 4th for the time being. Currently your points leader by 1 point over other winner this season, Trevor Anderson. I think the question is right now, Jack, you know, 2-time pole sitter this season, Andrew Bedrosian, he was slower than his best in the first and third sector, but was fastest of anybody in the second. This could be another good lap. You know, he's had 2 poles this season, but hasn't translated it into a win yet. What do you think has to change for him tonight? Like now, as he goes just barely slower, 200 slower than his best time. What do you think Andrew needs to do tonight in order to win in such a competitive series here at Mid-Ohio?
Last weekend, I think for him it was just unlucky with how the caution played out near the middle, and Imola just so close, but anything, if he can just get a good start in the first couple laps then and just stay and hopefully luck goes on his side, I think he can easily get the win.
Absolutely, and in terms of raw talent, Andrew has proven himself as one of the very best in the series, maybe even the best at this current moment in the series history. He is certainly talented. We're going to go on board here with Max Preston, who just put out an even better lap, going within 0.3 of Andrew Bedrosian's time back into the 110s. Currently still not your pole sitter yet. He's coming up on David Paxa, so he might be in the dirty air for a couple corners, but let's ride along on board with Preston. Just get a layout for the Mid-Ohio track here as he comes through the corkscrew, or it goes by a number of names, but such a fun corner there. This section down into what is called Thunder Valley here at Mid-Ohio. Some really technical elements here as Andrew Bedrosian's going to put down another time. Will he improve upon his previous best? He will not, so 110.6 still the standard right now. Max Preston, as he comes towards the final sector of the track, should be the next guy to cross in just a moment. Trying to go around David Paxa, gets stuck on the outside, is unable to get around, gets put in the grass. So there goes that lap time. Based on the way it was going, didn't look to be the pole time potentially anyway, but not going to be a great lap. He's got to just rebalance, refocus, and focus on making this lap time a good one there. Nails turn 1, gets nice and close to that inside yellow curbing. Up towards the keyhole turn here for turns number 2 and 3. This hairpin section can be very tough, kind of a blind corner, very quickly down a hill into the right-hander. Got to stay nice and close to the inside, but also watch the back end on the runoff. Nick Nickerson just went up to the 3rd spot in that black and green number 2 entry. So your points leader not too far off the top of the standings here at the moment. 11 drivers have currently run a time. Jonathan Petrone making his debut in the series tonight. So we'll see what he can do in his first qualifying effort. Christopher Mitchell just puts himself on the board for the first time in tonight's event. The series rookie this season is going to go to the 10th spot for the time being with 3 minutes left in qualifying. After him, it's Fred Zufelt and David Lakey that are going to round off the top 12. David Lakey, a teammate of mine in the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona race this weekend. Unfortunately, our race did not turn out in the end. We got involved in a wreck, but that is kind of the nature of endurance racing. So let's hope for bigger things next year. But David Lakey, a guy I know quite well. Nick Nickerson was on that team as well. Trevor Anderson, last week's winner, says goodbye, Nick Nickerson. I'll take over the inside spot on row 2. He jumps up to the 3rd spot. bumps Nick down to 4th. Michael Nickel is at the back end of the 5th. The top 5 here, the 23 car has been looking great all season. Another rookie this year, and he has been flying at the practices. He's a guy that I know can put down a 1:10 time. He came darn close in practice this week, and he's only been putting down more and more attempts. So don't be surprised if Michael Nickel jumps up as high as even the 2nd spot. Might even get Andrew Bedrosian if he can find a ton of pace. But Andrew put down a 1:10.513 one of these last couple laps. He has just been flying. Nick Nickerson again going to jump up to the 2nd spot. So he is just picking off those lap times. No, he didn't get quite as much time to practice this week as he would have hoped. Again, just practicing for the 24 takes up quite a bit of your time. As Tanner Dignard heads to the pits, he is done for the session. So the 51 car provisionally going to sit in 7th. But yeah, just as we come to the last 2 minutes of qualifying, seeing those final times coming down. Personally, in your experience, Jack, from qualifying, in this open qualifying format with cars all over the track, what's it like? Do you think any more stressful having all those cars on track? And what is the pressure as a driver to perform in qualifying for you?
Yeah, Imola was one of the hardest so far in the series from last season or this season. It just such a thin track that it's hard to be able to get past everyone and not have to worry about causing other drivers to go slow on their lap or crash. And that's one of the big things, is just to, even if you think you can improve, just stay, let other faster drivers by is one of the main things.
Yeah, it's definitely important to balance, and certainly the ability to be polite and be sportsmanlike and give other guys the track when they need it. It's usually it bounces back and gets repaid later on. Christopher Mitchell goes around off the exit of the final turn there. He is going to get back up and running, but that time will not be one of his best. Gets jumped by David Lakey in the 84 car, who's going to go to the 11th spot. Now 25 seconds left in qualifying. Only Rich Foligno has run a fastest personal sector of anybody on this lap, but only 1 of 4. We'll see as the Alpine entry crosses the line. Can Rich improve a little bit and go to anywhere other than 10th? Not at the moment, so unfortunately just going to have to settle for now. Coming towards the end of the session. Should be there in just a moment. Here we go. There is the checkered flag. So we have come to the end of the session. Max Preston is going to leapfrog Trevor Anderson right there at the end. Going to run a 1:10.82. So not a bad lap there for Max Preston. He is going to go to the inside of row number 2 with Trevor Anderson alongside him, who has gone off somewhere on the exit of, I think that would be, somewhere mid-track. The qualifying has come to an end, so we need to get to your one of your final qualifying results quickly. We're going to take just a moment here. We're going to go to a kind of a side screen, as I do have something I very quickly need to do here on the broadcast, so we will put that aside. Just a moment here. Okay, just having a slight problem here. Okay, sorry about that. We just had to take a quick moment and fix some stuff on my end. We have a new race director tonight, but that means we have to make sure to clarify some things and make sure that everything is set up in the back end. That way we can have manual cautions tonight. So cautions will be thrown manually, and it won't just be a competition yellow like we've had the last couple weeks, which makes the race run a little bit more smoothly and could make for some more interesting moments towards the end if we get a late yellow. So keep an eye on that. But qualifying, I should say, does come to an end. And we are now ready to show your starting grid once the session officially ends and iRacing decides to put it up. A couple more drivers still on track, so going to take the absolute most of their time allotted. And, well, that was Max Preston there just running a couple more laps there in the number 6 entry, but he has now gotten off the track. So we're going to go over it very quickly because, as we saw at Imola, qualifying can come to an end at a very sudden moment. So we're going to make sure that we catch the start of the race before we get too far. But let's run through your starting lineup for tonight's event in the 3rd round of the 2nd season of the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series here on January 23rd, 2022. Your starting lineup tonight consists of Andrew Bedrosian on the front row on the pole on that inside left starting box here. And the rundown of the first turn, there is Andrew Bedrosian. Nick Nickerson in the 2nd spot alongside him. Max Preston not yet on the grid, but he will start on the inside of row number 2. He is in the 3rd grid box. Trevor Anderson, last week's winner, in the 4th spot right behind him. Can he make it 2 in a row in his first road course win in a couple seasons? We got Michael Nickel behind him starting in 5th. Justin Lewick starting in 6th. on the 3rd row. Tanner Dignard in the 7th spot. David Paxa in 8th. Marshall Crocker Sr. in 9th. Rich Foligno in 10th. David Lakey in 11th. Christopher Mitchell in 12th. Fred Ziffelt, Jonathan Petrone, and that is your top 14 tonight. As Jack Hillier, the final driver on the leaderboard, is of course your co-commentator for tonight's action, waiting for the flag to be thrown for tonight's event in the 3rd of 12 events in the 2nd season of the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series. We are getting ready to go, just waiting for the countdown to finish. And we should be ready in just a moment. The graphics glitching out a little bit. We're just going to do a quick update before we go to green. We should have time here. Here we go. Wait for the lights to come on. They should be on in just a moment. Here we go. There is your leaderboard. There is your pole sitter, Andrew Bedrosian, alongside Nick Nickerson there, and that black and green entry behind him in the 2nd spot. Then it's Preston in the orange, Anderson in that kind of cyan entry, and the white and the red in the background is Michael Nickel. Still waiting, still waiting. You see the close-up there on Andrew's entry. You got a dog there sitting right on the back of the pod above the car. Here we go. The countdown has begun. When the lights go out, we go to green. Green flag in the 3rd round of the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series at Mid-Ohio. Max Preston gets a great jump. So does Nichols. So does Dignard. Nick Nickerson does not get off the line with any sort of urgency. Michael Nickel up to the 2nd spot in the very first turn. Nickerson just did not get up through the gears fast enough. And Max Preston already peeking to the inside on Michael Nickel. Seeing some internet troubles for Anderson up front, but he is okay at the moment. Dignard already up to 4th. Up 3 spots on the start. Tanner Dignard just flying up through the gears. He had the launch control process down to a T, and he is now on the back bumper of Max Preston as we head down towards the first time through the famous corkscrew turns and 5 and 6 and 7 into the braking zone. Michael Nickel's off. Michael Nickel locks up, goes off through turn number 5. I thought I saw Nickerson go off. He's still fine, so the top 8 survive. We've already seen Nick Nickerson have some troubles, but he's back up to 4th just like he was at Imola. Had some trouble on the start there as well. The only driver off so far is Michael Nickel. Same with David Lakey. Both drivers trying to recover. They are back on track, and we will continue. Green flag stays out. No yellow thus far. But back up to the front, Andrew Bedrosian already off to a pretty good start. Already a 2nd clear of the chasing Max Preston. And Tanner Dignard and Nick Nickerson having a pretty good fight for 3rd as we finish up the first lap here at Mid-Ohio.
The back 4, I believe, it was, got in an incident out there before the start-finish line.
Yeah, there was all sorts of chaos there on the race start. Wouldn't be surprised. Christopher Mitchell has jumped back to the pits. He has had to tow back, so he is provisionally out of the event for the time being. But again, we have fast repairs in the series. Has an opportunity to return, but not the start he was looking for. It was already doing pretty well in the points, so that's not what you want to see if you're a Christopher Mitchell fan. Here is Nick Nickerson here in the number 2 entry, who did get back past Tanner Dignard, who was having those troubles on the start. Fred Ziffelt as well, now just making his way back to the pit road. There is the 14 car, actually running the same livery as Marshall Crocker Sr. on the track, so we'll have to look out for that 14 and 15 numbers as well. So we will have to make sure not to mix those two up, but there are no teammates in this series, just to clarify, so they have no affiliation of any sort. But a pretty good start for Marshall Crocker Sr. so far. Again, just sitting up there in 8th position. He's been pretty consistent all year picking up points, and he will try to continue that streak tonight. But right now, the 2 closest drivers in the top 5 are Andrew Bedrosian and Max Preston. We'll go on board for just a moment with Max here as he attempts to chase down Andrew Bedrosian. And you see just how good of a run Andrew got there on the start, but he's since been clawing some of that time back. Andrew has been infamously good on the starts in the past. We've seen any race where we've had a competition yellow thrown in the middle, which remember we will not tonight. Andrew has thrived every single time. It just, he gets the pole and he takes off. And tonight he got his 3rd pole of the season, took home the extra bonus points for doing so. But now he's got to run away from Max, who's been looking quick all week. I think Mid-Ohio really plays to his skill set. And that number 6, Arrows F1 kind of retro entry is going to be chasing him down all night, you'd have to think. And elsewhere throughout the field here, we're seeing Nick Nickerson there about 2 seconds back, who's kind of gotten into a bit of a rhythm, almost to the back bumper of Max Preston as they go through the corkscrew. You can definitely see him not too far up the road there, so within about a second, that should help him kind of work on his corner entries. If you have a driver in front of you to use as kind of a point of reference there for each corner, it makes it easier to find your apexes and find your braking points. So We'll see if Nick can use that to his advantage. Further back, Trevor Anderson doesn't quite have that same luxury, but certainly isn't too far behind. Trevor Anderson sitting right behind Nick on track and right behind Nick in the points. We didn't get a chance to go over your point standings pre-race, but we will in just a moment here once the action kind of settles out a little bit. But your top three are Nickerson, Anderson, and Bedrosian, which are currently 3rd, 4th, and 1st place in your race respectively. So definitely the championship contenders are all off to a pretty good start in tonight's race. The points should, of course, shake up at the end of the event, as they always do, but for the top three at the moment, it shouldn't change all too much. Further back in the field, looking for anybody on track who is particularly close together. Everybody's separated out by about a full second. Actually, David Paxa making up a little bit of ground here on Justin Lewick. David Paxa, who was present at both practices this week. You got to think he's had a little bit of practice at this Mid-Ohio track. I know at the beginning of the week he wasn't feeling great about it. David Paxa is a guy that definitely puts down lots of time, but there are certain tracks that he just he's found to have proved particularly tough. But he said the same thing about Phoenix last week, and he really figured that track out. Was doing great at Phoenix until that same kind of mid-race caution that messed up Andrew Bedrosian, messed up David as well. So we've seen David kind of roll with the punches and figure out tracks that are pretty tough in the past, and I think he's doing so tonight, sitting in a very comfortable 7th spot, running away from Marshall Crocker Sr. in behind, and see what he can do in regards to chasing down Justin Lewick, who, as they come through turn number 11, is about an exact second clear of him. Off the back of Andrew Bedrosian's car here as we come up to the keyhole turn. There is the number 6 Arrows entry of Max Preston. Again, not too far back whatsoever. So Max is just kind of in his sights. And I think we've talked about this in the past, and I don't think you can really undersell just the importance of being near a driver you're trying to chase down, trying to put the pressure on somebody. It's huge. We've seen so many times, not necessarily this season of the series, but in the past, where just having a guy in your ballpark, somebody in your mirrors you got to watch out for just in case they make a late lunge, it's huge. It can really, I don't think mess with your confidence is the right word, but can certainly just get in the back of your head, make it tough to, tough to focus on your braking points and just your basic facilities as a driver. And it's tough. So we continue to see quite a bit of success here early on from Andrew Bedrosian, and Max Preston not falling too far back. We do have a battle for 5th here between Justin Lewick and Tanner Dignard. Somebody's gone off. That is Dignard. So that would explain the change for position. Tanner Dignard has gone off track. We're going to go to our first full send racing replay of the race presented by CanadianMiniIndy.com. Let's go to Tanner Dignard. Just miscalculates the kink there. That left-hander effectively turns 9 and 10 on track. Just is not getting figured out. Almost clips David Paxa. How did he avoid him? Gonna go to one more replay there because that was crazy. We're gonna go on board with David Paxa and just see just how close they came to making contact. Here is David Paxa coming up through the left-hand kink in turn number 11. There's the left-hander coming up to the long sweeping right. Wow, somewhere in there, Tanner Dignard was about to make contact with him. We'll go back a little bit, just one more time. Impressive how much or how quickly Tanner Dignard got up to speed as well. But here's Tanner sliding through. There's David Paxa. Look at how close they came to making contact. That is, that is the value of good luck, ladies and gentlemen. No matter how talented you are, no matter how good of a driver, you always need a little bit of luck to go your way, and that little bit of luck we just saw right there. Marshall Crocker Sr., this is live, has slid off track off the exit of turn number 9 on the way up into Thunder Valley. Was trying to chase down Tanner Dignard, who was in his sights just up the road. Gets it back running impressively quickly, as well as steering is going to be kind of misaligned there, you got to imagine, for Marshall Crocker Sr., but if he can get to the pits, use a fast repair, he is still very much in the event. Hoping we haven't, not sure if we have, but may have lost co-commentator Jack Hillier, but Jack, if not, just want to make sure you're still with us. We've had issues in the past with connectivity, but so far we see Preston keeping up with Bedrosian, and comparing these two drivers, Bedrosian kind of the more proven entity and the more proven commodity. He has a couple more wins in this series. Actually, if anything, I think they might be tied, but I think Bedrosian more second places, more podiums, more proven results, and maybe even so this season, as Max has yet to score a podium on the air so far. But Max has proved to have a lot of pace in the past. Do you think there's a good chance this battle gets a little more intense here as the race goes on?
You just had to look at the Marshalls when he went off. That's from my laps that I've done here, that's one of the toughest areas on this track, even especially that corner. Where you just miss brake or you turn in 1 or 2 meters too late and you're off.
Yeah, it's a really tough section. That entire area there has a lot of elevation changes. It's known as Thunder Valley, and as an ominous and scary name for a reason. It truly is one of the toughest sections in all of the American IndyCar venues that make their way on iRacing. It's a really tough section, but yeah, you got to think that it would certainly shake your confidence a little bit to make a little bit of a mistake like that. But Marshall Crocker Sr., we've seen in the past, has adapted quite well from incidents like that early in the race and has come back for good results. See Spa in the first season of the Snowstorm Series. There's definitely precedent for it in the past, so we will keep an eye on him and see how he charges back up through the field. Currently, Crocker Sr. sitting in 12th, but still on the lead lap at the moment. The only two drivers who are not currently are Rich Foligno, who has returned to the track after an opening lap incident, and same with Fred Zufelt, who again is running that blue and white retro Williams entry, identical to Marshall Crocker Sr. So two very similar entries, but we'll see how they can recover. Rich Foligno in the past has done pretty well here at these road courses. He's definitely found some pace later in the event, so we'll see if he can maybe recover his way back into the top 10. At the moment, though, a really fun battle here for what is 9th place. David Lakey and Christopher Mitchell here on the run down to the corkscrew turn. Here we go into the braking zone. On the inside is Christopher Mitchell. He does get underneath and does get the move done for the time being, but will stay on the chopper camera. Always the potential somebody dives back in front. David Lakey still currently behind. Driver the 84 there, that black and green entry. Christopher Mitchell in the front in that white, orange, and yellow car. And no, he takes off pretty comfortably. So Christopher Mitchell, nice move back up into the 9th place. He was having some trouble there on lap 1 as well. Remember, we saw him slide off the exit of the entry corner to the corkscrew. I believe that's turn number 5. So had a little bit of trouble early, but did manage to make it up. Jonathan Petrone tonight in his debut, who is sitting a very impressive 12th at this point. Unfortunately, has gone around. The driver of the number 7 has to get back on the power there. Waits for the leaders to go by. As you saw in the background, there was Bedrosian, Preston, and Nickerson, your top 3. Waiting. That should be Anderson. Should have an opening there. Maybe Lewitt coming through. The car should be under power. Just gonna make very careful, make sure that he finds an opening. Good to see from the young driver. The young driver making his debut tonight through the young youth karting community, through Rotax and Briggs. Same as a number of other drivers here through Canadian Mini Indy, who we will again talk about more throughout the broadcast because they are a major partner of the series and always somebody we want to shout out, because if you are in the Ontario area and you are interested in a career in motorsport in any level, Canadian Mini Indy is a great place to start. Based out of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, they are the founding track of so many drivers in the series, including myself. They have given so many guys a racing career in some capacity. For me, didn't have the investments possible to go into a bigger series of racing, but my 10 years in the rookie series and maybe 11 years this past year, I actually can't remember, have meant so much to me, and it's such a great opportunity for some great racing action. And Michael Nickel has now gone off track. He is out of the session temporarily. Not sure if it's just a temporary issue with tech or something like that, but currently sitting out of the session. Christopher Mitchell, right as we go to him, gets loose off the exit of turn number 11. Can he slide back on, get back on the power? Keeping those hands moving, and he's back. A nice recovery there from Christopher Mitchell. Back on track, chugs along and continues. But yeah, the link is now down in the description for the first time there on YouTube. So if you're interested in Canadian Mini Indy, if you're in the Ontario, Canada area, any age, any background, if you have an interest in karting at either the rookie level, so arrive and drive, you get a cart they have there, and you can just run against a great group of dedicated individuals. I know Scott Norman, who I've raced in for a number of years in the rookie series, is present in the chat there, so I'm sure he will no doubt back up the value of Canadian Mini Indy. But we're so thankful for them because they give us a platform, and they make sure to keep the word out about our series and posting on social media and making sure that potential interested new drivers to the series make their debuts. And we've seen a couple new drivers from that background this season, including guys like Michael Nickel, like Jonathan Petrone, like Christopher Mitchell. So we sincerely thank them for everything they do, and thank you for all the great drivers they brought to the series. But right now, battle for second developing as Andrew Bedrosian up front continues to chug away bit by bit. He is finding success there for sure at the front. Whatever equation he had down there in qualifying is working for him in the race. Hopefully not too risky. There are definitely some lines here at Mid-Ohio that use a lot of curb, and the more curb you hit, the faster you'll go, but you then run the risk that eventually that one lap your tire will catch and you'll find yourself looking the wrong way into a catch fence. So hopefully we don't see that happen for Andrew Bedrosian up front, but this battle, if it gets too intense, it's going to give Andrew an opportunity to run away, and with cautions being called manually tonight for any wreck that involves more than one car, rather than a compio like at Imola, that's going to make it tough for these guys to catch him if he gets too far away. So keep an eye on this battle, but try not to make it last too long. Looking back in the field, this battle between David Lakey and Christopher Mitchell might reform now that David Lakey has recovered the position after Christopher Mitchell went off track in turn 11 that one lap we saw just a couple laps ago. So David Lakey back in front for the time being. We'll see if he can put up a little bit more defense this time than last time. Christopher Mitchell made a beautiful move down that long straight there into turn number 5, and as long as David Lakey can minimize his loss here in this section, that tight winding Thunder Valley section, just be far enough ahead out of turn number 3 at the keyhole where that long straightaway can kind of even out in terms of power. If he gets a better jump than Christopher Mitchell, who's going to get the slipstream regardless, that's the most important thing he can possibly do on his end. So we'll see what the 84's got left in him as we go through the long weaving right hand turn number 11 into turn number 12 there, that left-hander right at the pit entry. And while we got a moment here, we're going to keep an eye on this battle and maybe go to the rear view cam on David Lakey so we can keep an eye on Christopher Mitchell behind. But we do have a graphic with a little bit of information about tonight's race at Mid-Ohio. There is our Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course race info graphic. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course opened in 1962, so it's been open for, well, now 60 years. Happy 60th anniversary, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and I wonder if they'll be celebrating that this year at its IndyCar race that is on the IndyCar schedule annually every year, a race I've been to twice in real life. We're running the high downforce setup again. It is our standard package for every race in this series in the Formula Renault 3.5 car that we run at the road courses. We're running the full course configuration every corner. There are 2 shorter editions you see there with the little gray lines on the track map, but we are not running those on this current occasion. It's the afternoon in the sim, partly cloudy, but should still be fairly hot, so the track going to be a little bit slick, but certainly great visibility for the drivers. It's a 3.62 kilometer long track, so 2.25 miles is what I was thinking of in the pre-show, so decently long circuit, but certainly not long enough that the laps aren't too long. Remember, 1:10 was the pole time tonight, so a pretty quick lap here. 50 laps, which is our race duration, should go by fairly quickly. And 13 turns overall. So I said 12 turns. I was wrong. 13 is the final turn there, right on the entry to the pit exit. But there you go. You see the famous corners, the carousel, Thunder Valley, the S's as they're called, the first turns after what I call the corkscrews. So turn 4, 5, and 6. I'll be calling the corkscrews tonight. And the keyhole, turn number 2 there up at the top of this long straight, which David Lakey and Christopher Mitchell are currently running down as we speak. Potentially a passing opportunity here for Mitchell. Thought about peeking out. Thinks better of it and tucks back in behind. We'll go on board with him as we go down the long straightaway through turn number 3, that right-hander we're about to go through in just a moment. And we'll see the battle as it begins to form. Trevor Anderson just got by Nick Nickerson somewhere on track. Don't know if Nick has gone off or made a mistake. No, they're still relatively in contention for a battle. Falling way back at Max Preston, though. Somebody must have gone off. I'm thinking Nick has had some sort of a moment somewhere on track. Let's go back and check. Yes, Full Send Racing replay. Presented by CanadianMiniIndy.com. Here is Nick Nickerson trying to chase down Max Preston. Remember that battle we were seeing in the background a couple minutes ago. Just gets loose, catches the bump in turn number 13 that Max Preston has been talking about all week. I was going to mention that. There is a big bump right next to the curb on the inside of turn number 13, and all week it's been giving Max Preston trouble. And what do you know? His fortunes turn around, and suddenly that is the bump that makes his current rival, or at least rival at the time in that battle, Nick Nickerson, spin out and give Max sole possession of second place without too much of an issue holding on to it for the time being. So now Nick is going to reform in behind Trevor Anderson. This will become the battle for third. But yeah, that's kind of hilarious seeing the trouble Max has had all week and how much he was stressing about it. To see his luck turn around in that sense is pretty funny. But through turn number 2, through the keyhole again, David Lakey held him off last time by, so we're going to go to Christopher Mitchell again, get his perspective from his side of the battle as we head down to turn number 3 and turn number 4. There was turn number 3. Here is turn number 4 on board with Christopher Mitchell, just too far back. You can see he's not on the DRS button. That green square on his dashboard there is telemetry on the wheel. You can see that green square, and if that green square goes blue, that means he's activating DRS. Remember, these cars do have DRS, aka the drag reduction system, which is essentially the rear wing has the ability to open up. So where it says Renault Sport on the back of David Lakey's car, that rear wing can lift up, and it'll give the driver less drag, and in turn more straight line speed and a huge burst of momentum that will many times shoot them straight past the car they're battling with. So we'll keep an eye here on Christopher Mitchell as we see David Lakey get really close there coming into Thunder Valley. I think it was turn number 7. That last time by, Christopher Mitchell had to check up hard to avoid him. There's turn number 13. He kind of saw the bump there on the edge of the curb, but both drivers avoid it for the time being here, so this battle continues. And now the podium positions as we saw Trevor Anderson get by Nick Nickerson there in that battle. Now Trevor Anderson on the podium for what would be the second time this season, but his third time in the top 5. It's been a great year so far for Anderson, and he may potentially take over the points lead with Nick sitting in 4th position right behind him. Run down into turn number 3 once again. Turn number 4, I should say, doesn't get it done. Christopher Mitchell can't quite make up the ground he needs to peek to the inside or the outside there on David Lakey. Great defense so far for the 84, but kind of a shallow entry into turn number 5. So David Lakey still holding on for the time being, but Christopher Mitchell definitely needs to come up with an alternative game plan. Or, as I mentioned before, as we saw with Max Preston trying to chase down Andrew Bedrosian, just kind of be in his general vicinity, put the pressure on the 84 car, keep his eye on his rearview mirror, maybe try to help him, lose focus and make a mistake on his own. There we go. That was kind of a mistake. Got a little bit too wide there on the exit of turn number 12. Or turn number 13 here. That's the long winding number 12, I should say. Long winding right-hander into the left-hander. Back on to the front stretch, down to turn number 1. And again, it's just, this battle has been so evenly matched. David Lakey and Christopher Mitchell running almost identical lap times. We'll put up the lap time comparison between the two drivers these last 5, but you see every lap within about a tenth of each other, with the exception of lap 14, where they were 2 tenths off, and lap 11, where we saw Lakey make that mistake, Mitchell make that mistake. But since then, the battle has just been lockstep, and it's been a lot of fun to watch, but they can't get too focused, because here comes, current race leader, and guy with, I know occasionally has some internet issues, so I'm hoping that doesn't pop up as we go on board with him, but Andrew Bedrosian trying to chase down this battle between Mitchell and Lakey. Are they going to get out of the way as he comes up to the corkscrew? Much more pace for the number 5 car than these two guys, and Mitchell does back out and give him the position, so this could upset the battle. We'll see how much Bedrosian holds up David Lakey when he goes by. There's the internet troubles I was talking about. So back up to David Lakey. We'll look off the rear end of the 84 car. Mitchell in the background, a sliding drift, keeps it on track, holds up Preston though. Christopher Mitchell having some trouble at the entry to the Thunder Valley section of the racetrack, turn number 9, but does keep it on track, so continues on. Again, that's what we need to see in this series, is you're going to make some mistakes, especially at these tougher racetracks, but it's how you can roll with the punches and keep going and just stay on the surface at all that is going to dictate where you finish in the end. We've seen in the past, very rarely will drivers make it from start to finish without any incident whatsoever, so it's just trying to minimize those mistakes, and when you do make them, make sure they aren't race ending. But back to another fun battle, this one being for 3rd position. We'll put up the lap time comparison between these two drivers. There is the lap time comparison between, that's Nickerson and Lewick. Here's Anderson and Nickerson. So these last 5 laps have gone back and forth. Nickerson was faster on lap 15 and 17. 13, 14, and 16 went the way of Trevor Anderson. So looking at the back end of Trevor Anderson's car as we head down to the corkscrew, Nick Nickerson, you got to think it should be on the button here. Much more momentum. I think he was, but had to back out. Just didn't feel like throwing the car underneath on the way into the corkscrew. Just too much of a risk. You got to think we're going to look at the wide angle here, just get some perspective for where they sit relative to the car in behind. That's actually the lap car, I believe, of Marshall Crocker Sr., so not for position. Kind of some fun camera angles in this camera pack, so we'll stay here for just a moment, get a good sense of exactly how competitive these two drivers are. Two guys that I don't think have ever properly battled together on track. Remember, Nick is in his rookie season this year, though he may have a win, and so does Trevor. Your 2 winners on the season battling it out. One is a veteran of the series. Trevor Anderson has been here 3 years, whereas Nick Nickerson only the 1 through turn number 13, though. They both avoid the bump. Nick was having some trouble with that earlier on in the race. We go past the timing tower. This battle continuing on. Just such a fun set of camera angles here through turn number 1. And you really just get a sense for how fast these cars are. Somebody mentioned it in another chat. I think it was 2 weeks ago here at Imola, but yeah, what a race car these Formula Renault 3.5s are. Such a handful to drive, but so rewarding to watch when we finally get to see guys having fun battles like these. And Nick is going to take another shot at it as we come through here, the turn in, kink in turn number 3. There we go, Nick trying to make up a little bit of ground. The braking zone, run down into turn number 4. Doesn't get there in time, stays in behind and tucks in once again. So that number 2 car, he's getting close once again. He's putting the pressure on, but no, until he can find an opportunity, maybe in this road course, proper road course section with all the tight twisting turns and all the elevation changes, maybe this is his opportunity. And I think if he can just nail that exit off the keyhole and get a really good run at it, might have a shot in a turn 4 off the straightaway. But we've seen a couple times, I think, including ones in which he's used DRS, just hasn't been able to get it done. But now, as we come to what lap are we on now? Lap number 20. Who just went off? Was that Trevor Anderson? Trevor Anderson has left the track. The mistake was made. I've talked about it a couple times tonight, but just put the pressure on another driver and they might make a mistake. And that is what we just saw. Trevor Anderson goes wide, totally bends the suspension on the front left wheel, not even sitting on the ground as that tire. Christopher Mitchell follows him into the pits. The first and possibly only pit stop of the race on fuel for Trevor Anderson, so might not be too much of a loss if he gets a quick repair, but full send racing replay presented by CanadianMiniIndy.com. Let's get a replay on that. And it doesn't look like it was a ton of damage for Trevor Anderson here. There we go. So there is Trevor's perspective and just slides off the exit. I don't know if he just came in with a little bit too much steam, maybe got too distracted by his rearview mirror and just wasn't paying enough attention to the corner or what. No, just a little bit wide, gets half a tire off into the grass on the exit of turn number 12, and just like that, the grass sucks him up into the outside wall, bends the suspension as I mentioned, but again, does get back to the pits and has returned to the track in quick order. So that's the beauty of quick repairs, ladies and gentlemen. As long as you can get back to the pits as quickly as possible, which is easy when you go off of the exit of the second to last turn of the race, it's easy to recover. And just like that, Trevor Anderson stays in 6th. And I think, Jack, we can both agree in this series, that is one of the most crucial things of all is rolling with the punches. You can make mistakes in this series, but it's about how you come back from that and how you persevere. And we've seen that a number of times in the past.
Yeah, especially in these cars, it's like once you make a mistake, it's either that you come back and fight for a podium, or your race is basically done. And there's been times this season and last season, but especially in these cars, where it's like, do I just give up now and enjoy the rest of the night and watch the broadcast, or try and continue?
Yeah, we always appreciate anybody who's willing to tune into the broadcast, but in terms of a driver's situation, as long as you're not anywhere past like 5 laps down, I think there's always an opportunity to make up more positions and to recover and take maximum points possible. And speaking of points, I've blanked on it about 3 times now in this race, but finally we'll get an opportunity to show it as we watch David Paxa, who currently sits in the 7th spot. Here are your championship points heading into tonight's race at Mid-Ohio. So 18 drivers have officially run this season and scored a position. Unfortunately, 2 drivers are looking a little bit glitchy there, but their points are showing up regardless. So points leader, whoa, David Pax has gone around off the exit of turn number 4 through the corkscrew. Keeps it on track though, impressive work. Bounces back out in front, puts it in a low gear, gets off going again, and David Paxa, that could have been so much worse, but he keeps it on track. Nice driving from the 53 car. But speaking of which, David Paxa currently sits 11th in the points heading into tonight with 39, tied with Tanner Dignard for 12th, but we'll start at the top. Nick Nickerson and Trevor Anderson, we saw that battle a little ways earlier. Nick didn't come out on top of that the first time with Max Preston, but he did the second time with Trevor Anderson, as Trevor made that mistake in turn number 12. So Nickerson up to 3rd, and his challenger is, one of his challengers for the championship as David Paxa heads off to pit road. One of them is out of commission, at least so far in tonight's event, as far as maximum points are considered. So it's Nickerson with 87, Anderson with 86, Tim Salvatore, who was unfortunately unable to run tonight, but who is definitely a contender in this series and can use tonight's race as a drop race. So he will not be out of the season championship whatsoever, because I believe he's running the 24 this weekend and is no doubt very tired. As Nick Nickerson is also going to head off to pit road, so going to make his first and only pit stop of the race and is challenge for more than a top 3 spot, but you got to think after his struggles there on lap 1, a podium wouldn't be too bad to take as a consolation prize. Then it's Bedrosian. Christopher Mitchell, the rookie, is off to a great start this season with 56 points in the 94. Then Dan Skilton in 6th, also off to a great start. David Lakey 7th in the points. Marshall Crocker in 8th. Both guys who have been extremely consistent so far this season. They are the definition of a workhorse. They know what it means to stay on track and try to maximize your points. Michael Nickel, who's had so much pace this year but has had trouble in the past, and he did tonight. Both he and Rich Foligno dropped out early in the event after some troubles. So 2 guys that were sitting decently far up in the points in both 9th and 10th, who unfortunately tonight will need to use it as a drop race because points are going to be less than stellar tonight, but we know they'll be back next week at Gateway for our second oval of the season. Then it's Paxa, Dignard, yourself, Jack Hillier, in the 13th spot, just ahead of James Donk, sitting in 14th. Justin Lewick in 15th. He's only run one race so far in MLS, so his points are looking a little bit lower than they otherwise would have. Fred Zufelt with 22, Woody Mahan with 18, and Max Preston with 18. That rounds off your order for the night so far. And the notable name on that list who could stand to make quite a bit of improvement off of his, I think, 18th position overall in the championship with 18 points is currently 2nd place Max Preston. We're going to go do a quick lap of the track here with Max Preston as we see Andrew Bedrosian about 5 seconds up the road in the distance. So we'll see if we see him on the lap. There he is in the background, not the car right in front of Max, because that is Jonathan Petrone, currently sitting in 12th. But we're going to do a lap around the track on board with Max Preston and just, once again, get you a little bit of context for how tough this lap is at Mid-Ohio and just what it's like in the cockpit of one of these virtual Formula Renault 3.5 cars. Here we go here. We'll kind of go to a fun camera here with the gyro cam as we go through this section of the racetrack up the corkscrew, and we're just getting into Thunder Valley now. You see all that grass there on the left side of the track on the runoff that has just built up as drivers have gone off track and come back on. But you start to get a sense as the camera swivels and moves just how much elevation change and kind of horizontal track raise there is. I wouldn't call it banking, but kind of a bank section here through turns number 10 and 11. But you just get a sense of how much you move around as a driver and start to get some context for what it must be like as an actual driver in an IndyCar to go around this track at Mid-Ohio. Certainly one of the best I've ever watched, but you do kind of get more perspective for just how tough it must be as a driver when you see just how crazy the layout is in some sections. Going back to a battle here for 5th and 6th, Tanner Digner being chased by Trevor Anderson, who pitted just a moment ago. Remember his issues in turn 12 that he has since quickly recovered for, and if he can get this pass done, then he would become the driver in 5th place back to the top 5, which would certainly be good for his championship efforts and his efforts to keep himself in the top 3. Who is that created a giant puff of smoke? Not sure. Oh, that was whoever that driver is. Is that Fred Zufelt or is that Marshall Crocker Sr.? Check on Fred Zufelt. That is not. So that is Marshall Crocker Sr. who was having some trouble there off the exit of turn number 13, but no noticeable damage. So I would say that he is relatively okay. Yeah, that Retro Williams 15 entry is looking fine. So Marshall Crocker Sr., no foreseeable issues, should chug along and currently sitting in 9th place. As long as he can stay in that relative vicinity, should be able to maximize his points and keep going towards what could be another good points finishing position that should maybe even move him up the order, seeing a couple of guys in the top of the points having some trouble so far tonight. Keep an eye on this battle for 5th. This might be the opportunity for Trevor Anderson to go on board with the number 25 car. Trevor Anderson, last week's winner, up towards the turn 4 braking zone. Down to the inside is going to go for the more ideal braking point. Into the turn, should jump in front of him. He does, but he's got to make the entry down into the turn 5 and 6 section, and he does. So doesn't get too shallow under the braking zone, which we've seen a couple times this week when guys make a shallow entry into that 5th turn. They can lock up and go wide, but he did not. So Trevor Anderson, he's got one of the best overall racecraft abilities of anybody in the series. He makes a pass, and you just kind of trust that he's going to get a hold onto it and won't make a mistake as a result. So Trevor Anderson up into the 5th spot, but Justin Luke there we're seeing sitting in 3rd spot. He is yet to, whoa, he goes off track a little bit off the exit of turn number 1, stays on track, just puts a bit of a tire line there on the exit of turn number 1 and shoots a cone off into the turn number 3 section. But yeah, Justin Luke currently sitting in 3rd spot. Really interesting driver in Justin Luke, a guy we've actually had on commentary as well in the past, but Justin he's had an interesting career here in the Snowstorm Series. He's a very frequent driver. He's been here since the very first season of the Kart Stick Computer Series, all the way back 2 seasons ago. He's been in and out. He's often busy with other karting engagements and just other various racing commitments of some sort, because he's an avid racing driver. He's been in a number of series, including karting at Canadian Mini Indy in the past, so he is certainly a guy who's busy more often than not. But he's had a lot of success in the series in the past, but he's had trouble, I think, in the past with staying out of trouble here at some of the road courses. We saw it in Imola how quick he was, but had that side-by-side battle with Nick Nickerson that put him off when he got shoved down to the inside a little bit, and unfortunately made a bit of a mistake. So if he can minimize the errors, I think Justin Lewis is going to have a great season for himself, but decides right as Nick Nickerson gets to his inside, maybe a little bit of PTSD to a previous incident in Imola, but he just decides to pull into pit road. He's going to take his pit stop now. Might lose a spot to Trevor Anderson, who's just coming through turn number 11 now into turn number 12. Justin is in his pit box. We'll keep an eye on the battle for 4th in the race off of pit road. We'll see Trevor go by in the background if he's going to pit here, or if he's not going to pit, and there he goes. So Trevor Anderson back up to the 4th spot comfortably. So Justin Luke not even out of the pit box yet, but as Tanner Dignard comes by, Tanner in the 51 car having a great race so far. Justin is just leaving the pits now, so that could be a potentially fun battle for 5th in a couple laps time, as Justin is on newer tires. But for the time being, it's going to go back to Tanner Dignard. So your top 5 is Bedrosian, Preston, Nickerson, Anderson, and Dignard. Your top 5 here at Mid-Ohio. Just looking around the track, looking for some potentially fun battles here, and really everybody's starting to spread out, kind of a traditional F1 race sort of order here. We'll put up the track map, actually, something that normally I like to throw up there just to give a little bit of context for the shape of the track, where guys are on the racing surface. And right now you just get a bit of context for how much of a lead Andrew Bedrosian has over Max Preston as they come through the S's section here. Again, I'm always a little bit scared to show Andrew Bedrosian because he can have the occasional internet problem. Yeah, he's blinking a little bit, but we'll go to him. Currently your race leader, we got to talk about him. Started on pole, has led all 29 laps so far. The New Englander, the New England area native, and just what a start he's had in his time in the series. Remember, runner-up last season. Had I think a win in his, he had a number of runner-up finishes in his very first season as he puts Justin Lewick, who just pitted a lap down. And Justin Lewick does pass Tanner Dignard, who just came down pit road this lap. So Lewick back into the top 5. But other than that, it's just been a great start for Andrew since the moment he got in this series. He didn't get a win in season 1. He almost didn't get a win in the first season of the Snowstorm series when he made his debut in this version of the series. But he did end up scoring a win at Oulton Park, his only one on the season, I believe, last year, which was surprising to say the least. Actually, no, I think he got another one late in the year. That is incorrect. But yeah, in his time in the series, surprisingly few wins overall, but just incredible consistency. The guy has been on the podium 10 plus times before, was runner-up last season to incredible driver Logan Paxa. We saw Jonathan Petronoff there on the exit of turn number 7, just got a little bit confused. Getting back on the power though, should be back on. And again, Jonathan just rolling with the punches tonight, making his debut, but he's starting to find in his pace and getting stuff figured out. And we've seen in the past drivers that have started off and had a little bit of struggles adjusting to the sim have since found a ton of pace and really adapted well and have since become very valuable competitive members of the series. And Jonathan, nice clean entry there through the Thunder Valley entry. So not bad. I'd like to see what we're seeing from Jonathan Patron. We'll keep an eye on him all season. And for the rest of the race, as he goes wide, whoa, almost at the same time as Tanner Dignard does. Tanner currently sitting in 6th. So surprising there to see him having some trouble. David Paxa is going to get the pass done on track. I wasn't sure if he was a lap car or not, but he is not. David Paxa is going to slide by cleanly. So 20 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. There's Jonathan Patron on the inside, going to move aside and let David Paxa go by. David Paxa up to 6th. Tanner Dignard has since, no, he did not recover to the racing surface. Cold tires, slides off in turn number 10. Makes contact with the front of the car, and the front nose of that number 51 is just completely removed. He's coming down pit road to take yet another quick repair, and he might lose the spot here to Marshall Crocker Sr. in the background, who, yes, will get the spot, and he'll move up into the 7th spot. So Marshall Crocker Sr., yet another good points performance so far for him, started 9th, and has since moved up to 7th. But I was saying about Andrew Bedrosian, just consistency has been the name of the game for him in terms of podiums and quality points performances. We've even seen it this season. Remember at Imola, recovered from a mistake late in the race to return to 3rd and pick up a good chunk of points. Unfortunately, some bad luck last week kept him from the win at Phoenix, but he was the pole sitter. He was dominant early. It was a shock, really, to see him not come away with the win after his pace early. But now into pit road he comes. Remember, still having some internet issues, so Max Preston will take over the lead provisionally, but still has yet to pit on behalf of the number 6 entry, so we will see when he decides to make that pit stop. But for the time being, Bedrosian on pit road should stay ahead of Nick Nickerson on track. You see there on your track map that black and white number 3 car, who is a little bit off the pace as Patron has gone around again, right in front of Nick Nickerson that time. So might actually go back a little ways there, just a couple moments, and see if there was some aggressive braking taken under by Nick Nickerson to avoid the, what number is Jonathan Patron? The number 7 car. So there's Patron up ahead as we come through into the Thunder Valley section. Turn number 8. Right in front. Yeah, it does make contact, actually. Right as Patron goes around, Nick just bumps into the back end of the number 7 car. No major damage there to that front wing of the number 2, so should be in relatively good condition. The caution has come out, though. That is huge. So that would be for the Nick Nickerson Jonathan Patron contact. So we will get a caution tonight. It's surprising enough to see, but race director Chris Ferrara coming in clutch there with the caution. That is the rule. Multi-car contact is enough to bring out a yellow. So that'll give the lead to current race leader Max Preston in that number 6 entry as the pace car comes off of pit road, and Max will slow down to let it go by. So a late race caution at a road course. The first time we've seen it this season. The first time we've seen it in quite a while. And that is going to play right into the hands of Andrew Bedrosian. Not so much Max Preston, who still had yet to pit. It's going to be huge. And Jack, I'm just curious, what do you think? Caution this late, we don't typically see them in the series, and it's going to mean that we're probably going to go back to green with about 14 laps to go. That's a quick stint to the end. And, Preston's going to be on new tires, but he's going to have to get through about 4 or 5 cars as the lap cars will cycle to the back of the order, but that's still quite a few guys he has to get through. So in this situation on your front, 14 laps to go, would you prefer the new tires or would you prefer the better track position trying to go for the win?
With especially in this series with the same exact car, track position, literally anything can happen. So um, having the better tires and is going to help Max out a little more than some people think because of not having to worry about full tires if he was to pit under the caution.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think it's a tough balance. I think if he didn't have to take fuel, I don't think he would even consider a pit stop. It's just a case of, unfortunately, because of how big the tanks are in these Formula Renault 3.5 cars and how long the race duration is, you do have to make a mandatory pit stop at some point. And we saw the guys like Andrew, like Nick, like Trevor make it about halfway through the race, try to split their tire stint in half and try to maximize the rubber, whereas unfortunately Max doesn't have that option anymore. He probably would have liked to. He probably would have taken it a couple laps later, but I think he was just trying to lead any laps he could whatsoever, take the bonus point for it, as he's trying to claw back from 18th in the championship, and he does have a drop race, so he's not nearly as far back as it looks, but this is going to be unfortunate for him. So to be a Bedrosian, Nickerson, Anderson top three, you'd have to think, as Preston should pit this time. Yeah, and he does, so there you go. Max Preston down pit road. We'll see how quick he can make it. Should hopefully factor back out into the fourth spot. Justin Lewick now ahead of your race leader, so he will get sent around the pace car, and Justin Lewick will become the fifth driver on the lead lap, and one of the only five. Marshall Crocker Sr. has jumped in front of David Paxa at some point, so Marshall Crocker Sr. in the 15 car trying to maximize his points wherever possible. And a fellow Bills fan like me, he is no doubt going to be sad to miss the Bills game that started at 6:30 a couple hours ago. So if anybody in the chat spoils the Bills game, you will be kicked out of the chat because we are both diehard fans, and I sincerely do not want to know anything. So just no details. Please do not post them. I shouldn't have mentioned it, in fact. But yeah, he'll be a little bit happier to have missed the race in favor of this series if he can come away with a pretty good points day. And currently 6th place, not a bad points day whatsoever. So Max Preston has exited the pits, and you got to think, Jack, probably took new tires, going to be on fresh rubber. They're going to be cold for a little bit. He'll do whatever he can to warm them up here. They should send the lap cars to the back, which means that the top four, maybe Justin Lewick, should all go to the front of the field. A flat-out battle between Bedrosian, the incredibly fast Nick Nickerson, who won the first road course race of the season, Trevor Anderson, who won last week, and Max Preston on fresh tires. I'm going to throw it to you, Jack, with 15 laps to go. Who's your pick out of those four for the win tonight? Okay, can't hear Jack at the moment, so we'll throw it to you guys in the chat. I feel like I'm always looking at the chat, but I feel like in this series there's a little bit more to juggle, so I don't have quite enough time to check in with you guys as much as I'd like to, but I want to. So everybody in the chat there, just let me know. Throw in the chat your predictions. Who do you think takes away the win of that top four? So remember, Andrew Bedrosian currently leading at the moment, but he is not too far clear of, as the lap cars are still in front of Andrew Bedrosian, so one more lap to go into the pace car. But Bedrosian, Nickerson sitting in second. He is incredibly quick. He topped Andrew at the first race of the season at Imola as he was trying to chase him down, and we saw Andrew make a mistake into the turn 11 and 12 complex at Imola as Nick was trying to take over the lead. We'll see if that happens again tonight. It's going to be in a very similar situation, but Trevor Anderson, you saw, was quick early on, made that little bit of a mistake on his own power, and has since again recovered all the way back up to third. Then, of course, Max Preston has been quick in the past, but a little bit more unproven in this Formula Renault 3.5 cars. It's his first time running it this season, and is on fresh tires that, while they're going to be quicker later, for a little bit, are going to be colder. So throw it to you guys in the chat. Who do you predict is coming home as the winner tonight? And the first time I've asked this season, but we'll try to make it more of a recurring theme later on in the year if we get some late race cautions. And even if we don't, I'm always excited to hear from you guys. And let me know there in the chat. If you've got anything else you want to mention, as long as it's not Buffalo Bills related, feel free to throw it down there. But the lights in the Porsche pace car are off, so we are going to be one lap to go until the finish of this yellow flag session, and then we'll be back for our final 15-lap run to the finish here in the third round of the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series second season at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you, Jack.
Okay, yeah, I just had a couple of technical issues. I just looked back at Max's pits. It looked like he only got fuel. I don't think he got tires.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so yeah, I guess that what I was talking about there with that potential for cold tires to play a bit of an issue. Looks like Max is gonna forego that issue entirely. He feels good on the set of rubber he's on. I don't know how I feel about that. Thinking about it realistically, I think you're right. He came out of the pits surprisingly quickly, caught back up to the field in relative quick order, and he does sit fourth in the line. They have not yet let the lap cars out of the way. So currently it's Andrew Bedrosian 3 lap cars, then Nickerson, Anderson, Preston. So wow, that's going to be interesting if they let the field go that way with your second, third, and fourth place battle all together on track. But your lap cars sitting behind Andrew in front of Nick Nickerson are not going to get the wave around. That's going to be interesting. So we'll see how that plays out. The pace car going to take the left hand off to pit road at the end of turn number 13. Andrew Bedrosian should be in control of the field around corner number 12. So we will see. It's going to be interesting. That's Marshall Crocker Sr., I believe, is sitting there behind. Yeah, it's Crocker Sr., Lakey, and Dignard all sitting in front of Nick Nickerson. So we'll see how much of an effort they make to let those guys by. But, you know, Crocker, Lakey, and Dignard all battling for the 6th, 7th, and 8th place spots. David Paxa also on the line. He is on the next lap down from the lead as well. So 15 laps to go. Bedrosian, a massive jump. The 3 lap cars behind did not get a great run. Andrew Bedrosian already 2.5 seconds clear of Nickerson as we head down to turn number 1. 15 laps to go here after the late race caution restart at Mid-Ohio. Just a great run for Andrew Bedrosian. He's going to get the best opportunity he possibly can. Nick Nickerson going to dive to the inside of Tanner Dignard. He's got to maximize these laps. Like, this is his chance. If he's going to catch up to Andrew Bedrosian, he's got to get through these guys as quick as he possibly can. And he was just not put in the position that he wanted to be, I'd imagine. At this point in the race, you got to think he was hoping to be tucked up as close as possible behind Andrew. And that way he'd get a run right off the bat and be able to make up those positions right at the first available opportunity. But having these 2 lap cars here, even if they let him by, you can see in the background, there goes the number 5 of Andrew Bedrosian, just 3 seconds becoming 4 seconds. Say he gets 5 seconds ahead. We got 15 laps to the finish. You got to make up a 0.3 of a second gap every lap to Andrew Bedrosian. And Nick is an incredible driver. He won at Imola, but that is easier said than done on the guy that has dominated this race so far. Trying to get through this lap traffic in the dirty area. You see the kind of understeer element as he heads through turn number 12. Nice move by Nick, just chucks it underneath David Lakey, his teammate for the 24 this past week. He is not waiting around. Nick Nickerson is in go mode, and he is charging up towards the front of the field. Further back, Trevor Anderson and Max Preston trying to weave through these guys. So Trevor Anderson's going to get by David Lakey. Now it's Preston's turn on the way up to the keyhole turn. Going to dive to the inside. Lakey, I think, will let him by without too much resistance, and he does. So the 6 car back up into 5th on the line. The only driver in this top 5 pack that is still a lap down is Marshall Crocker Sr.
Yeah, last weekend at Phoenix, a couple late cautions that kind of messed up Andrew's race. Now a late caution here benefits him.
Yeah, it kind of all comes full circle. I find racing is often one of those sports that can kind of even itself out a little bit in that sense. But yeah, so this line is looking interesting here. Again, Crocker Sr. still at the head of this field, at least as far as Max Preston's concerned. Trevor Anderson and Nick Nickerson have both gotten by him, and will now look forwards, and we'll focus on their charge up towards race leader Andrew Bedrosian. And there goes your final driver past Crocker. Crocker and Lakey make contact right as he lets the final driver by. Crocker and Lakey, massive wreck. We might see another yellow. That's 4 drivers involved. Lewick, Dignard, Paxa, Crocker all involved. Will we see a yellow? That is a lot of cars off on the exit of turn number 11. A massive wreck. Keep an eye out for it. No caution yet. Still no caution, so I don't think we're going to get one. Can everybody make it back to the pits? Fred Zufelt is off too. He's not going to pit, but the rest of the drivers are. But let's go back to the replay for that. The Full Send Racing replay presented by CanadianMiniIndy.com. Back a little ways there. There we go. Here is the incident. So this is right as Crocker lets everybody by. Checks up a little bit early into the turn number 11 and 12 complex. Lakey slides into him. Lakey hits Crocker. Crocker hits the outside wall. Dignard goes with him. Paxa goes with him. Just a massive shunt that like 4 drivers took there. And that is truly the domino effect of racing sometimes. It's just once a guy in front of you goes around and you suddenly get all stressed and nervous trying to figure out how to get by him. That's when you make subtle mistakes. So here's David Paxa coming up towards turn number 11. There you go. You see the wreck in front of him, and Lakey just perfectly slides across, preventing Paxa from going anywhere. The whole track was blocked there. So it wasn't just a mistake as he saw the wreck happen in front of him. That was truly really nowhere for David Paxa to go. And Justin Lewick slides through as well, but somehow makes it by. So Justin Lewick, who was trying to catch up to the field there after being sent around the pace car, has since caught up to 5th and is only 14 seconds back of the lead, but still, that is further back than he would have been otherwise if he wasn't involved in that wreck. So now it's a question of who can get back on the power quickest after that pit stop. It was David Lakey that won that sweepstakes so far, so he's in 6th. David Paxa comes out in 7th. Tanner Digner in 8th. Marshall Crocker Sr. has gone around on cold tires in 9th in the Corkscrew, but is still in the top 10. So everybody from that incident back on track, back up to speed, but perhaps not with not in the same mental state they were prior to that wreck, and certainly in a swapped order. Back to the front, though, coming to 10 laps to go in 2 laps time. Andrew Bedrosian heading through Thunder Valley. This has just been a dominant drive from start to finish. You know, that 5 car I talked about before is just such a dominant entity in any series he's in, I got to imagine. But in this series from the very start, he's just had so much raw pace. He puts in the work during the week. Andrew knows his way around a Formula race car, any road course event whatsoever, and he consistently comes out with good finishes. Same with the ovals. He's just such a talented driver at every discipline. And he may have had a little bit of help. That definitely helped him out with Nick's struggles, and Nick is actually catching him lap by lap. Let's put up the lap time comparison between these two guys, and maybe we'll put up on the timing tower in a moment the lap comparisons lap by lap. Nick is catching him. He's catching him. 4 tenths, 8 tenths, 7 tenths that last time by. Jack, as we see these times start to fall, Nick has this pace to catch him, but we've seen tonight prove tough to pass here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Not a ton of great passing opportunities. Do you think Nick can still make that move even if he catches up to him on a driver as talented as Andrew?
They're both great drivers, and even though it's a tight track, they could battle too wide for, with their talent, battle too wide for most of a lap.
Yeah, no question about that. In terms of driver talent, sorry, that got really loud for some reason. In terms of driver talent, yeah, there's no question these two guys could absolutely put down an absolute barnstormer of a battle, and they haven't really so far yet this season. You know, Nick just got here to the series. They've never really had an opportunity to test each other's merit and see what they're all about. They almost did it at Imola, but remember how that battle turned out. The only question is Andrew's internet, and that is going to prove tough. I really hate when we have a situation like this where a driver has internet connectivity issues, because it makes Nick's job so much harder. When the car in front of you is blinking in and out, you don't know where they are on track. It makes them so much more unpredictable. But you got to think with the struggles Nick had to get through there with the lap traffic there on the restart, and still managing to fight through them and coming all the way back up to within a second and a half of Andrew, you gotta think Nick is gonna be on full charge if he catches up to him. Gonna go on board here with the driver of the number 2 car, Nick Nickerson. Remember, just a day removed from running the iRacing 24 yesterday. We were on the exact same team, him, I, David Lakey, and Brett Guzik, who I was about to say you don't know, but he was in the series a little bit earlier on the season. So we'll see if we see Brett return later on, but I know he was pretty tired from a very busy week, so did not probably feel the need to run tonight's race here at Mid-Ohio, but Nick did, and you can see the struggles there. You can see the blinking up front from Andrew Bedrosian. But again, like I said before, I don't think Nick is going to be all too dissuaded. You know, I think he knows what he's got. I think he knows he's got the pace to get him. And, you know, the blinking is a problem, but if he can predict where he's going to be and he can get him on a straightaway, then it becomes a relatively non-issue, and he's within 1.4 seconds. That gap continues to drop. Nick Nickerson right now is... he is not giving up. That number 2 car, since joining the series, again, coming from the Bandit Racing League, which many of you come here from. Shout out to a couple fans we see in the broadcast tonight here who commented in the chat, who come from the Bandit Racing League. I really appreciate you guys joining this series, joining us every Sunday night, and seeing maybe some of your old Bandit Racing League favorites, or just supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. So howdy to you too. But yeah, it's been so much fun to have you guys this season. But you guys know Nick. You know the talent he has as a driver. And though he may not be quite as proven at the road course side of things as Andrew does, or not have quite as much experience in this car, on this, well, not on the sim. Nick has years of sim experience, undoubtedly longer than Andrew. But Andrew has proven in the past. He knows what he's doing in this series. This is kind of his home turf when it comes to this series and the snowstorm side of things on its own. But Nick is a talented guy, and this could be the battle. This could be the passing of the guard for at least 1/4 of the way into the Snowstorm Series, as will be at the end of this race. Who is the guy to watch for the championship this year? Who is the guy with all the cards so far this season? And Andrew is going to have to put on a defensive masterclass if he wants to hold off the hard-charging Nick Nickerson. Now within 7 tenths as we come to the line here for the start of lap number 43. Looking elsewhere on track for any noticeable battles. We'll put the track map's already up, I should say. So track map is up there. You have a little bit of context for where to look on track and where your favorite drivers are at any given moment. no really close battles there anywhere else in the top 10 other than this. Everybody is just kind of separated out. You know, Max Preston's within 3.6 seconds of Trevor Anderson. That gap was dropping a little bit just a moment ago, but has now kind of evened out. Trevor's a consistent guy. I'm sure he can make it 8 laps to the finish without much trouble. But fastest lap of the race run by Nick this last time by. Let's put it up. Their fastest lap for everybody. Nick just ran his, a 1:10.331. That is a blistering time. That is 2/10 clear of Andrew's pole time tonight. Nick is just get better and better as this track comes in. And man, he is looking quick right now. Andrew has got to be darn worried right now, you got to think, Jack. Nick right up to the back bumper. He made up a whole bunch of ground through turn number 12 and 13. Andrew blinks out. Now we're seeing the internet troubles become a problem. Gets to the inside. Turn number 1 says goodbye, Andrew Bedrosian. But Andrew shuts the door in turn number 1. Nick was just going to send it underneath and see what happened. The blinking and that number 5 car proving tough. Nick doesn't know where to go. Gonna try.
Nick's wheel, and I believe he still has a couple more uses of that DRS, which will be helpful.
It certainly will. I think he just used it side by side down to turn 4. Bedrosian slides through, holds him off again, held the inside line. Nick tried the crossover to turn number 5, tries it back and forth, back and forth. Nick just waving the wheel. You've got to think getting frustrated. Nick is a calm, collected guy. He's a mature racer. He knows what he's doing, but every turn, every lap he waits behind Andrew, he has to deal with the blinking. He's going to get more frustrated. I don't know who that is in front. That is Marshall Crocker Sr. Both guys getting past him, so he gets out of the way and lets this battle for the lead continue. But Nick is just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. No blink there from Andrew, but almost gets into the back of him. Andrew checking him up in turn number 13, trying to minimize any runoff he gets anywhere. Nick gonna peek to the outside. Is he gonna force him to the inside? Andrew shuts the door again. Andrew is just driving his line. He does not care where Nick is. Coming to 5 laps to go in just a lap's time. Running out of time here at Mid-Ohio. About 6 minutes left in the race if we don't get another yellow. And Nick Nickerson looking for his 2nd win of the season and sweeping the road courses so far this season. The guy that came from the oval background might take 2 road course wins at the start of his new season series. Here we go. Left or right. Goes to the left. Gets squeezed. Goes off track for a moment. Andrew's blinking. Where is Bedrosian? Bedrosian slides in again, but he goes a little bit wide. Crossover. He's side by side again in turn 5. Goes to the outside. He'll get the better run down to turn number 6. Still shuts the door. Holy cow, what a battle here. Nick is facing a ghost, a guy he cannot see. Blinks out again. The internet troubles for Andrew are just getting absurd. Nick does not know where to go. He's trying to find his way by. We're going to have to get this fixed in the future because this is absurd, but holy cow, Nick just doing whatever he can to find an opportunity. I'm not going to sugarcoat it right now. That 2 car is faster. He's got more pace than Andrew Bedrosian does at this moment in time. Not sure if it's when he pitted for tires or he's just figured out the track better. But Andrew is going to have to defend for his life, and regardless, this is an incredibly impressive drive from whoever comes out on top here at Mid-Ohio. But don't throw away the possibility both these guys wreck, and Trevor Anderson gets his 2nd win in a row in his 3rd in series history. Anything can happen right now. It is all to play for. Back through the keyhole. Nick gets loose. Nick has gone around. The error from Imola has flipped on its head. Suddenly the chaser becomes the one to make the mistake. Nick runs too wide through the keyhole and goes around, dropping spots as we speak. There's 1 spot to Preston, 1 spot to Anderson. Gets out ahead of Lewick. But Nick Nickerson goes around in turn number 2. Let's go to your full send racing replay for what is the end of an incredible couple laps of battling there for Nick and Andrew. Full send racing replay presented by CanadianMiniIndy.com. There you go, the wiggle, the fishtail in the back end of the car, and we got to get a better angle than that just to get some perspective for where he went wide. So let's just get a replay of that entire run up to the line there. So Nick Nickerson right behind him within about a single, maybe a car length and a half into the braking zone. Through turn number 2, goes wide, gets a little bit too tight on the curb, washes out too far as he's kind of shallow there in the apex and just the slightest dip off the track. And suddenly he finds himself beached in the grass, gets it back on the power relatively quickly, minimizes the damage. But Nick Nickerson, what was looking like such a prominent run at the finish, like he had the momentum. I just said it a moment ago, he looked faster, he had everything going his way, and the slightest mistake we've seen so many times in this series, is what separates the driver from just a very good performance in points to a race winner, and that's why it's so tough to win in this series, and so few drivers have done it.
The only on pace dues for, I think you would know this best, but I think from definitely last year, first season that I know of, with the first 3 races are 3 different winners.
Oh, that's a great point. I hadn't really considered that, but yeah, thinking back to last year, I think you're right. I think it was Logan won a race, Max won a race, and then somebody took an oval at the start of the year. So yeah, that's a very good point. There's precedent for that in this series. It can be tough to get consistent there at the very beginning of the season. You know, really getting a rhythm. And we're on pace for it right now. Remember, Andrew Bedrosian, despite his 2 poles to start off the year, and now 3 here tonight at Mid-Ohio, as Trevor Anderson is making up a little bit of ground. We'll put up the lap time comparison between those 2 drivers. Yeah, definitely faster these last couple laps has Anderson been, but part of that could just be down to the battle with Nick. That last time by, he was still a little bit faster, but 3 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. He's going to need to make up a little bit more ground than that. But yeah, there's just something to be said about the start of a new season, you know, a new car, a new season of the Snowstorm Series. The guys in the past just haven't been able to really get in a rhythm to start it off. Even Logan Paxa, who was a 3-time champion of my series, this is the first year he hasn't run, but yeah, it's a really interesting point to make. And right now, unless Trevor's able to catch up to him, we are on pace for 3 different winners to start off the year once again in a very competitive fight for the top of the points between Trevor Anderson here in second, who had a big wiggle just a moment ago off the edge of Thunder Valley, race leader and provisional winner Andrew Bedrosian, and 4th place driver Nick Nickerson, who we saw having a great battle with Andrew just a moment ago. So that's a great point, Jack. Thank you.
I'm just looking at the last season's schedule, and it was Andrew, Logan, and then Michael Kroblock.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. I forgot about Michael's success last season. Michael, the Oval Master, we call him. Hopefully, we'll see him at some point throughout the rest of the year, and maybe subbing in, making a guest debut for an Indy Pro race at some point at one of the ovals. But 2 laps to go. Andrew Bedrosian with Nick Nickerson out of his rearview mirror. He just sails off into the sunset and likes to continue on without too much trouble. Again, Nick just ran the fastest lap of the race once again, a 1:10.068 flat. That is an absurd time. The 2 cars just on rails right now. Even if he doesn't come away with a podium or a win, he has proven this season why he's a name to be feared, why he's a guy to look out for in the future. And if Max Preston didn't run as quick that last time by as he did, this might be a very different story about Nick, maybe potentially getting him in time for a 3rd place spot. But at the moment, Max Preston should hold on to 3rd, you've got to think. But just what a drive it's been for Nick. This has got to be disappointing. He's not going to be happy with the way in which it happened. It's so frustrating as a driver to have a blinking car in front of you, to have internet issues be a large part of the reason why you don't win a race. But I so badly wish we could have seen that race, you know, proper and clean to the finish, and that battle without any internet troubles whatsoever. It would have made it easier on Nick and would have made it a little bit more even in the end. But white flag came out that last time by. Andrew Bedrosian is 3/4 of a lap away from his first win of the season, his first win of Snowstorm Season 2. And again, we can't jinx it, because as we've seen in the past, jinxes are very real, and the race is never over till it's over. But I think Andrew is just gonna kind of buckle in for a couple more corners up through the corkscrew for the final time. We see some lap cars there up front. Tanner Dignard's a couple seconds up the road, and there in behind is... Oh, that is Trevor Anderson, actually. Trevor Anderson has made up an incredible amount of ground still, 1.2 seconds away. Not quite going to get close enough if I had to guess, but it has been a darn impressive final run to the finish. Should get by the lap cars here. There is, I think that was either Jonathan Petrone or David Paxa there. They just went by. That was David Paxa, who we just saw on the inside of turn number 10. But through turn number 13, for the final time, lap car in front of him, doesn't matter. Andrew Bedrosian, first time this season, will hold off the hard-charging Trevor Anderson to win it at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. His first win of season number 2 of the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series. 3 different winners in 3 races. A well-deserved win for Andrew Bedrosian, who took the pole, looked dominant from start to finish, and comes away with the most points as a reward for his efforts. Congratulations to Andrew Bedrosian.
Yeah, that battle between Andrew and Nick might go down as the battle of the Snowstorm Season 1 or this season.
Yeah, one of the very best, no doubt. I think there is no question that in terms of the amount of raw pace two drivers had, just trading incredible lap times back and forth, that was one of the best battles we've seen for a win in a very long time. Again, I don't love the way it turned out. Really unfortunate that we saw that mistake from Nick and the troubles with internet connection that we did. But yeah, that was so much fun to watch. Just Nick trying to find every opportunity he could, but Andrew was not giving him any ground. The confidence to make those defensive moves that he was, while still avoiding contact. Incredible that those two drivers didn't come together, but that just speaks to their talent, and it speaks to all the great battles they could have the rest of the season. Not just tonight at Mid-Ohio. I'm confident this will not be the last time we see these two drivers have an incredible battle for the win, but we got a long season ahead of us. I'm sure we will get many more opportunities. But here comes Andrew to the start-finish line to take the checkered flag. We'll see if he does some victory burnouts here. Back on the power. Does a bit of a, I don't know if he was trying to do a rolling burnout or what. Gonna park it there in turn number 1. There's the burnouts. Andrew Bedrosian, first win of the season. He's got to take the time to celebrate. That's the beauty of the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series, is it's tough to win, but when you finally do, got to celebrate for it. Third career win for Andrew Bedrosian in the series, first of the season. Ties Max Preston for second all-time in the league. Still first overall. Not probably a huge surprise to most of you. I believe it is still Logan Paxa. So, what a race. Trevor Anderson actually could have put himself tied for second on the leaderboard if he'd been able to catch up to Andrew. Came darn close, and we'll talk to him about that in just a moment. But Andrew is your race winner. Heads off track, so unfortunately we won't have his car to show in the interview, but what a great race. And
that's one of the best parts of doing the broadcasting with you, is being able to see these battles that happen on track.
Yeah, absolutely. We really, us and you guys at home, have the best seat in the house every week, and that's why it's so fun to broadcast these races between such a number of incredibly talented drivers like we're lucky to have in this series, and give them a platform for what is I hope one of the most fun things they do every week. And every given Sunday we come out with these same drivers, have this same amount of fun, and go to an oval again next week. Very different style of racing, but these road courses in the past, we've seen some races that can be a little bit less competitive than others, but when they are competitive like that at the end, boy, are they fun to watch. So with that, we'll come to the end of our racing order. We'll show the final results here in just a moment at the end of the race, but first we got a couple interviews to get through. First of all, we got your third place finisher tonight, and a guy who had a very, very interesting night overall from start to finish. A guy that we thought was going to be in the most optimal spot there at the end. Thought he was going to take tires with that late race caution. If it weren't for that caution, potentially had a shot at the win if his pit stop cycle had worked out, but unfortunately it was kind of missed time for him, and he didn't get the luck to fall his way that he might have hoped. But he is your third place finisher tonight. So let's go to the broadcast booth with third place finisher number 6, Max Preston. Hey, Max, Marshall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Hey, we can indeed. How's it going, Max?
Good, Marshall. Good, Jack. Good to be talking with you guys again.
It is great to have your voice back in the broadcast booth. First time this season. Your first time in the Formula Renault this year, and it's looking like a pretty good pairing to start off this season. Just talk us through the beginning stages of this race here at Mid-Ohio. It's a tough track. I know it's one you were trying to come to terms with this week, but you had pace from start to finish. Qualified third. Qualifying was competitive, and you had pace there at the start. Just how was the car feeling? What was it like adjusting to the Formula Renault here? And is Mid-Ohio a track that tends to suit your driving style?
Yeah, you know, the car is a lot of fun, and I've had quite a bit of experience with the car, although not so much recently. And I honestly found the Mid-Ohio track to be extremely technical, extremely, with the elevation changes, the off-camber corners and everything. And so, like, patience was the real virtue of success here with this track. And I really approached this race with that in mind. And so going into practice, I didn't get as much practice during this week as I wanted to. I was unfortunately away from the simulator quite a bit. So I was lucky just to get in, and my focus was to get as many laps in practice as I could. As many consistent laps. I didn't worry about setting a fast lap. I just wanted to set as many consistent laps as possible. And then going into qualifying, I saw that I was in that position where I was going to be a little bit too far down the order. So I went for one more push and was able to catch third place, which was great. And then going into the race was the same idea. I think it was a race that was going to be quite destructive personally going into it. And so my entire strategy was just stay alive the entire time. And so the first half of that race really, I like to think I don't think I made a single mistake in the first 30 laps of that race. Unfortunately, what ended up happening was when I pit for new tires while I was leading the race, I had an issue with my system where I couldn't actually go and decrease the amount of fuel I was putting into my car. So instead of setting it for only 17 laps left, I instead put an entire fuel tank, full tank, into my car. And so I had 110 liters go right into the car. Justin Lewick had the exact same issue happen to him. And so as soon as we got the green flag again, him and I were at least a second down on lap times and pace. So that was really unfortunate, but at least we coined the term team full tank. So we did the best we could. Nick Nickerson, I'm not sure what happened to him, but him dropping down to fourth was what made me podium. We didn't have the speed at the very end, and not at all. There was definitely that issue with the full tank, but I think if we went into the pit stop, solved that properly, then I think we really could have had an even better position than third place going into the final couple laps here of this race.
Yeah, it just didn't seem to work out your way with the caution there mid race. I think without it, you still had a very good shot, and potentially the maximum fuel would have paid out, or would have been a little bit less of a problem in the end. But unfortunately, just didn't quite work out that way in the end. But yeah, from start to finish, it was a really great drive from you overall. You reminded people just how good you are here at the road courses, coming back for the first time at them this season. And yeah, just talk a little bit about the Formula Renault car. The first time we've run it so far in this series. I know it was one that you sounded pretty excited for last year when we brought up the idea of switching to it. So you proved tonight that it seems to fit your driving style quite well. You talked about the first 30 laps being great. You looked, if anything, just as quick as Andrew there. It looked like if you had an opportunity late, you guys might have a fun battle. But yeah, talk a little bit about what you're expecting from it this season. We go to Monza in a couple weeks, so that'll be a much more low downforce style of racing, much different, much more traditional formula. And do you think the formula style of racing rather than the Indy Pro will play to your strengths this season?
Yeah, absolutely. Naturally, I'm the kind of driver that tends to have a bit of a slower turn in, a bit of an earlier turn in, right? So my smooth driving style plays well into courses like Monza, which have a very low downforce approach. And so with a low downforce approach, it's all about balancing the throttle, balancing your turn in, and balancing the aero of the car. And so if we can achieve all of those things, then we're going to be fast next week. And actually, Monza was the location of the first iRacing World Series Renault 3.5. That's the track where I had my first win in the car. And so I'm quite excited for the next road course race. Road courses are something I've done for 20 years of my life and racing experience in real life. And so for me, the Formula car represents, a car that you can have such a huge amount of entry speed. And that's really nicely balanced in the midsection of the corner. And then if you're just patient and careful enough with the throttle, I like to relate the throttle of this car to like the trigger of a gun, right? And so you should only really pull the trigger when you're pointing in a straight line, because if you do it in any other way, then you're obviously gonna,
I can see that.
You're gonna have issues.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's point and shoot. So point the nose in the right direction, and as soon as you're pointing in that right direction, just hammer the throttle and just keep going through the gears. It's almost like a bit of a shifter kart racing style, and that's I think why I naturally like this car so much, because it reminds me of what I raced in real life. And so I love this car, and I'm glad to see everyone else is adapting to it quite well.
Awesome. Well, you got 5 more races this season that you get to come back out and use it again. And you proved tonight that even though you missed the first race of the season at Imola, you've since recovered in points. You got to think with that drop race in mind, and you're fighting your way back through. Third place is a good place to get started tonight. And if there's anybody I would quantify using your analogy as a straight shooter in this series, I would say you're absolutely going to be one of them. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we got from you, especially next Sunday back at the Ovals. As you were very quick, and at least in practice to start off last week. I know that last week, unfortunately, didn't work out the way you were hoping. But not back to Gateway next week, the track you ran last season in the Snowstorm Series Season 1. So I have the utmost confidence for you. But you know what to do in the broadcast booth at the end of the interview. Anybody at home you want to shout out, friends, family, any sponsors you want to mention, now's your time to do so.
Yeah, you know what? For me, the oval racing is so much fun. I love it, and especially in the Indy Pro car. And even though I had that issue in the first couple of laps of the first oval race this season, going through that race, I was trying to make my way through the field so much. So we had the speed. That's definitely the case, and that's why I'm really excited for the next oval race, because I just love the racing style. I love the strategy, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So tonight, I'd like to thank. Pretty much, I'm actually gonna do something a little different. We learned that my family dog, unfortunately, is severely ridden with tumors in his stomach and in his chest. So yesterday we got the opportunity to unfortunately say goodbye to him. But he lived a great life. He's a great, happy dog. He's still alive, but he's on his final days of his life. And so I'd love to thank Nash Preston, my family dog growing up, golden retriever, 12 years old. He's one of the best dogs, if not the best dog we've ever had. And so we're fortunate to have him. And I'd like to give him a special shout out tonight. And that's about it. So thanks, Marshall. Thanks, Jack. Great to put on a great show tonight, guys. I'm really excited about this. I'm glad to be back. So you guys did a fantastic job tonight, and I really appreciate it. So thanks a lot, guys, for all of your hard work. Thanks to the race directors and everyone else in the series. It's gonna be a lot of fun this year.
Awesome. So glad to hear that, Max. Sincerely appreciated. And yeah, it's a really cool shout out. I know firsthand, not just dogs, but golden retrievers. They really genuinely do become part of the family. Throwing the last name on the end there isn't too far at all. Do. So I'm sincerely sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear it's the end, but
I appreciate it.
You absolutely did everything you could tonight. It's a great way to honor him. That was an incredible drive from start to finish, and maybe just like Andrew, who puts a dog on the end of the car, you can throw a scheme together and do something like that for him. But it's entirely up to you. But sincerely wish you the very best and best for your entire family. I know it's a tough time to go through, but great job tonight, Max. I'm so excited to see you come back. That not only next week, but the rest of the season. I wish you the very best of luck using that the drop race from Imola. Maybe take a run at the championship.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm so glad to be back. Great series, and I'm gonna definitely hit practicing as much as I can because this is a lot of fun, and I want to be in the podium a lot more. So thanks a lot, guys. Great job tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, Max.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
There you go. First interview of the night tonight with third place finisher, Mr. Max Preston, back on the podium for the first time in season number 2. And well, that is a name that, again, similar to Andrew, if you're new to the series and you want to get an idea of who to look out for the rest of the season that maybe you haven't heard quite enough of to this point in the year, that is a name to look out for. Max Preston's incredibly quick. Jack, you've raced with him for all of last season. He's definitely in that upper echelon of driver, and Max, just such a great guy to go along with it. Truly the epitome of a great driver in the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series.
Yeah, I think he'll be able to challenge Andrew or whoever won for the championship this year.
Okay, so with that, we are now on to your second interview of the night. Let's just put up his graphic here. There you go. Second place finisher tonight, number 25, Mr. Trevor Anderson. Let's bring him in the broadcast booth. Hey, Trevor, it's Marshall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yep, I got you, Marshall. How's it going?
It is going pretty well. Welcome back, Trevor. Great overall drive from you tonight, and I think you're third of the season so far. I think you've just had an absolutely incredible start to the year. You came in second in points. You finish ahead of the guy you're battling with for in points, and you come home with a second. Just talk us through the starting, the earlier portions of that race, because it just felt like there were so many guys in contention there. A lot of guys that were quick, but the real trouble here at Mid-Ohio is always getting into a rhythm, and that proved like it was tough. But what was it like for you after Imola, a track where you had a lot of pace but made that one little mistake? What adjustments were you going to make tonight at Mid-Ohio, and how did the track feel overall for you tonight?
Track felt good. It's a really fun track, really, really technical. It's hard to get that last sector down really good, and it did take me a little while to get into a rhythm that I kind of sat back, that front pack kind of ran away in the beginning, and I was just hoping, seeing what would happen, and as long as I kept it clean and stayed on the track, I knew I'd be there at the end. Unfortunately, I had that little mistake in the second to last turn. I just I brake a little bit before that crest, but this time I went in a little bit too late and locked it up and just couldn't save it, but it all worked out, I guess.
It did, yeah. We've seen it all season that you're going to make mistakes. Everybody does. It's about how you recover. In the very first race, Andrew took home a podium after wrecking with like 15 laps to go. We saw a very similar situation with a couple of drivers last week at the Oval where you won at Phoenix. So to follow up the win and the top 5 finish, to come back for a second at Mid-Ohio tonight, you're proving you're quick at a variety of different venues. And just, do you feel like you're in a bit of a rhythm? Some drivers just kind of get to that point where they feel more comfortable with the car, they feel more comfortable in the sim, and seeing as you come back from some adversity a number of times so far this season, would you say you're just kind of in a peak right now as a driver? You're feeling good and feeling competitive for the title?
Well, hopefully I haven't peaked yet, but yeah, I'm definitely getting there. I'm feeling pretty good. I still definitely feel like there's more I can learn about this car. I could definitely get faster. Andrew and all those guys in that lead pack, I didn't have anything for them, honestly. I think I can still work on my raw pace with this car, but in terms of just being comfortable with it, yeah, I'm definitely really feeling comfortable with the car. These high downforce cars, not totally what I'm used to, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and yeah, I think we can only go up from here.
So I like to hear. You got plenty of races to do so now, a quarter of the way into the season, but I'll have to check. There's a very good shot. You're currently running first in points overall. You should leapfrog Nick, and I don't think Andrew will make up enough ground to take over from you. So there you go, Trevor. You are now the top dog, the man to beat, heading back to Worldwide Technology Raceway next week at Gateway for round 4 of the season. Back to the ovals as we go back and forth all season. So back to the ovals. Are you feeling like it could be a pretty good follow-up to Phoenix? Going to carry over what you learned there, and at the end, just wrap it up in your final thoughts. Anybody you want to thank? Any shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, I'm definitely, I wouldn't say I'm more of an oval guy, but I feel very comfortable on the ovals. And so I think last season I didn't have the best results at Gateway, so I'm looking to turn that around this year and just keep the car clean. You know, that's the name of the game. If you can keep that car clean and be there at the end, you know, you got a good shot. So I'm just hoping to do that. And I love the ovals. I love the strategy of them, saving the tires. So looking forward to it. And yeah, just I'd like to thank my wife, you know, for always supporting me with my racing and all my projects and stuff. And you know, her baked goods are delicious, so shout out to her. And then my friend Brendan down in San Diego, he's watching me race, and my dad and my grandma Kathy, grandma Evelyn, my mom as well. They're all watching me. I can't tell them how much I appreciate them watching me race. It definitely gives me a little boost, so I love that. And then I think my friend from Montana, Dane, is also watching, so shout out to him. He's a great dungeon master. So yeah, that's all I got. And thanks to you, of course, Marshall. These are always a ton of fun. I love these races.
Awesome. Really appreciate hearing it, Trevor. And yeah, I know that you're definitely somebody in the past who's proven that you can be quick anywhere. You got your first win in the series at a road course, so it feels great to see you get back here tonight. You're always one of my favorites in the series. Obviously, not this year. We ran the 24 last year, so I've seen your abilities, and you're putting them to better practice this year than you ever have in years past. Not to say you haven't always been quick, but now you're the series points leader for a reason. And I wish you the very best of luck the rest of the year, holding on to it. Maybe we just won't see that number 25 moved off the top of the leaderboard all season. So take a shot at it. Best of luck. Great to hear you got a bunch of family watching. So congratulations tonight, Trevor. Second place, and we'll see if you can follow it up again next week at Phoenix, or not Phoenix.
Thanks.
Gateway.
Thanks, Marshall. Thanks, Marshall.
Very welcome. Have a good week, man.
Yep. You too.
There you go. And the end of your second place interview with the runner-up finisher, Mr. Trevor Anderson, new series points leader. What a start to the year it's been for Trevor. He's definitely a guy that, if you had asked me at the start of the season, I absolutely would have said had the potential to be in first place in the points after 3 races. But thinking about, you know, two road courses and an oval, those are disciplines that play into one driver's hands very well. And that driver did happen to get his first win of the season tonight. And he's the guy we're about to talk to in the broadcast booth. Let's get him in here in just a second. Let's get something set up. Here we go. There is his lovely name card. We are ready for your final interview tonight with race winner number 5, Mr. Andrew Bedrosian. Let's get him in the broadcast booth. Hey, Andrew, it's Marshall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy? Hey, Andrew Marshall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy? Oh, he is gone. Hey, Andrew Marshall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go. How's it going, Andrew?
I'm doing well. How are you, Marshall?
I am doing pretty well. That was a fun little race to watch. Plenty of fun battles there. And Andrew, first win of the season. Congratulations, man. That was a race that at the beginning was looking pretty cut and dry again. Very similar to Imola. You took the pole in dominant fashion, though there was definitely guys that were nipping at your heels a little bit, but you got off in the start, you got off to a great start, and you just took off. You know, what is it about your driving style and what you think you're doing that gets you so dialed in? Like, are you liking these standing starts? Because 2 road course races in a row, you've had a rocket start, and you've just taken off.
Yeah, I mean, I really just, it's a great car to drive. I mean, with the standing starts, it's great. I mean, it's like you don't get held up by people who are lagging on the formation lap. I mean, it's all around great car. I mean, I have a different driving style than most people. I slide the car through the corners. And yeah, I'm rarely off the gas. I mean, I trail brake through most of the corners, and that's really how I drive.
Yeah, it seems to be working for you so far, man. You've been absolutely, in terms of fastest lap over lap for the entire season so far, I think you're probably number one in terms of average lap time. It's just some struggles in different ways there in the first two races. Man, this is the first time we're talking to you as the final interview of the night, but we're going to throw it to Jack, our guest commentator in the broadcast booth tonight. I think he's got a question for you, so Jack, you can take it over.
Yeah. So last weekend at Phoenix, couple late cautions that ruined your race, and tonight one that benefited you. How do you feel after having the bad luck last weekend, changing to good luck this weekend with the cautions?
Yeah, I mean, it was a nightmare last week. Total heartbreak from the caution, the fact that I was running away and untouchable. I mean, yeah, I mean, I honestly got lucky. There's no other way to put it. I mean, pitted at the right time, did what we had to do, and yeah, just trying to stay ahead and do my thing.
Well, the final question we got to ask in regards to tonight's race is that incredible battle late with Nick. I know that it was made a little bit tougher. I know that you were having some internet issues, and that definitely didn't play into his favor. It made it tough to predict, but you guys were like lockstep. You guys both had a ton of pace. You were throwing some great defensive maneuvers. When your internet was in, it was very clear that you were still defensively putting on a great masterclass. So when was the last time you had a battle that fun in this series? And do you think you and Nick are going to be the rivalry to watch for the title this season going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time I had a battle like this was with Logan Paxa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy that I had a rivalry for since I think my rookie season. I mean, it's definitely a rivalry like everybody would want to watch. We're both fast drivers. He definitely has a lot of late race pace in order to like catch up, and yeah, I mean, he can definitely put pressure on me, and that was a very stressful battle to defend. Like I came out on top finally, but I'm sure we're gonna have plenty more of those. So I'm not out of the wood yet.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's we just hit the quarter mark of the season tonight, so still plenty of racing left to go this season. And yeah, just to wrap it up, we go next week to Worldwide Technology Raceway, a track that you were familiar with last year. We had a really fun race in the 14th round of season 1 of the Snowstorm Series. So just a couple races later, we head back to it for season 2. So going back to the ovals, we saw you have a ton of pace at Phoenix at a very technical oval, and we go to an even more technical one last week. How much do you remember from last season? How much do you think is going to carry over? And is it going to be nice going back to a track that maybe you've got a little bit more experience at than these rookies that have proved really quick so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the exact line. I don't think too many updates to iRacing has changed that line. I mean, turn 1's a little bit slower. I mean, it looks a little bit different from Phoenix from last week, but I feel like it's the same exact format. I mean, turns 3 and 4, you're, I think, flat out. If not, you crack the throttle a little bit, but really, my tactic on that oval is just in 3 and 4, you just let the car glide out to the wall and come as close to that wall as possible without hitting it in order to protect those tires. So it's definitely going to be a fun oval. Hopefully I can do the same thing as last week with just running away from the cars behind and let them battle it out and slow each other down. So
yeah, hopefully so. That sounds like the name of the game, if you ask me. Just trying to just run away at the beginning, get some pace, and hope for minimum yellows, which it's a tough track. I don't know if minimum yellows is gonna come to fruition, but all you can do is keep doing what you've done so far this season. I think with the exception of the little mistake at Imola, this season it was just bad luck that I think kept you away from the win at Phoenix. So tonight you get some revenge for it, as Jack said, and pick up your first win of the season. You can now try to go charge down Trevor for the points lead, who I believe is now taken over from Nick. So I'll leave it to you. You know what to do in the broadcast booth. You've been here many a time, but it's been a bit since we had you as the last interview. So anybody you want to shout out at home, friends, family, sponsors, anything like that, now's your time.
Yeah, I want to thank Stamos Realtors, JP West Photo, the Kings of Pop Culture, the Bedford School, all my friends and family for watching, my girlfriend. And I want to thank you for putting on this broadcast.
Awesome. Always a pleasure, Andrew. Always great to have you. Good to see you back. It's been a bit, but you've had an incredible run so far up to that point. And I can't wait to see you, Nick, Trevor, Max, all those guys compete for the title this year. It should be a fun Snowstorm season 2.
Yeah.
Awesome. Have a good week, Andrew.
All right, you too.
There you go. And that'll bring us to the end of the interviews with tonight's race winner at Mid-Ohio, Mr. Andrew Bedrosian. And we've already heard that from, a long-time iRacing veteran and guy that he was battling with tonight, Nick Nickerson. He sent me a text. They'll be trying to get his internet worked out and stuff like that for the future. So this will be the last night, hopefully, of the season. We see a battle come down to a finish like that where we're having trouble with internet, and that's what brings it to an end. So hopefully that is the case. And sincerely thank you to Nick for offering to help Andrew out. And they will work away at it this week, and hopefully we'll be back up to speed and all good to go for next week. But with that, it is time to go over your final results here tonight for the third round of Season 2 of the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series here at Mid-Ohio. Race winner Andrew Bedrosian wins it from Trevor Anderson and Max Preston, rounding off your podium. Nick Nickerson was hard charging at the end, absolutely the fastest driver by the end of the race, but unfortunately that wreck trying to get by Andrew puts him back in 4th spot. Justin Lewick rounds off the top 5, your final driver on the lead lap. That'll work for him in the points. It's only his second race of the season, so going to try to claw back some points with that effort tonight. David Lakey, after that spin and wreck late in the event, after the caution there with a couple drivers in turn number 10, was the first driver to recover and get back to the pit, so he will come home in 6th. Tanner Dignard in 7th. Marshall Crocker Sr. comes home in 9th. Christopher Mitchell comes home in 8th. Christopher Mitchell in 9th, I should say. Fred Zufelt comes home in 10th, another top 10 to add on to his season after a top 5 last week. David Pax, unfortunately, had a couple issues throughout the night, just couldn't quite get it going, but we know he'll be back for next week at Worldwide Technology Raceway, another veteran of the series who will know that track quite well. He comes home in 11th. Jonathan Petrone making his debut tonight in the number 7. Was getting up to speed there by the end, was starting to get the track figured out, and it's a tough car to figure out, so we wish Jonathan the very best of luck for the rest of the season, and I am confident he will get things figured out. He comes home in 12th. Michael Nickel had troubles early on, qualified great, but unfortunately in the race just had some struggles early. He comes home in the 13th spot. Same for Rich Polino, finishing in 14th. And there at the bottom of the leaderboard is Mr. Jack Hillier, who is not a driver in tonight's race, but was our co-commentator. Before we head off, Jack, I want to thank you again for coming back, and overall, I'll throw it to you. Just what was it like returning to the series as a co-commentator, filling the role again, and just talk a little bit about what you're expecting for yourself this season. Maybe whether we'll see you back in the commentary booth the rest of the year, just what your plans are for the future.
Yeah, it's nice to be back up here with you, and it was a perfect race to do it with that battle between Max and Andrew and Nick.
Yeah.
And hoping to be back with you within the next couple weeks, maybe Barnza. But yeah, thank you everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed the broadcast, and thank you, Marshall.
Awesome. No, sincerely appreciate it, Jack. Yeah, we'd be more than happy to have you up at Monza in a couple weeks. It was a great broadcast tonight. Always great to have another voice in the booth and somebody to take a little bit of the load off. So I sincerely appreciate it, and that'll bring us to the end of the broadcast for tonight. There's my face again, back on screen. So we will we'll send you off as always. Before we go too far though, I want to very quickly thank, as I always do, first of all, Evan Wall Media down on this side of the camera. He is the guy, Evan Wall, my old partner from the Bandit Racing League. He former broadcaster of that series when I took over on commentary. Then he helped me out on commentary, but he's always been a graphic designer. His link to his website and his portfolio and all of his stuff is in the broadcast description below. If you are looking for a paint scheme, a custom number, any sort of graphical work, Evan is the guy that puts all these broadcasts together. Anything from these boxes to this overall layout, anything you see on screen, any of the thumbnails, any of that stuff, that is Evan. We sincerely thank him for all the work he does, and go check his stuff out. Link is as always in the description to his website and everything he does, and sincerely thank you for all of his stuff. Full Send Racing Network on the other side, that side, there we go, I'm figuring it out, is Full Send Racing Network. That is our channel this is on. As always, I'm never going to ask people to subscribe if you like these races, if you enjoy coming up for this content, if you're interested in the Bandit Racing League, which is a massive league, usually 40 drivers week to week. It's a stock car stock car racing series that runs Wednesday nights, coming back at the end of March. I'm going to be broadcasted on this very channel once again, so if you're interested in that and you want to come up for that series, stay tuned, stay subscribed, and then when that series gets posted and starts coming out, you'll see it too. And we always have a weekly co-commentator for that. There's a lot of good production stuff, and that's it's a little bit more. I don't know what I'd say. It's a little bit more dedicated week to week. There are a lot of guys that have been in that series a long time. We're going into our 10th season in the Bandit Racing League next year. Not something I have a part in putting together, but just this is the broadcaster for. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned with us. But I sincerely thank each and every one of you for watching the Full Send Racing Network. And if you feel like subscribing, feel free to. Entirely up to you. I'm just here to put out a product for those who want it, and if you happen to, then check it out. Other than that, we'll go to the end. We're going to thank Canadian Mini Indy. That is that side. CanadianMiniIndy.com. The link is now in the description. Go check them out. Their season is starting up very soon. They're already taking entries for the new season of the Rookie Series season, and not too late if you're looking to run your own kart and Briggs or Rotax or anything like that. There's always opportunities to do so through Hamilton Kart Club, through CanadianMiniIndy.com. So Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, if you live in the local area, if you want to become a driver like many of these guys in this series, you want to develop the skills they have, and you want to get into real racing, you want to get out of the sim and into the real world. I did it back in 2010, and it was one of the greatest things I've ever done. It's a great community. You meet some great people there, and it's such a great experience. I know that you probably have a lot of fun if you've ever enjoyed the sim and you've really taken to liking this, but I promise you, from both Jack and I and anybody else in the series, we would tell you that it's very different getting out there in the real world, and it's sincerely an honor to do so, and an honor to represent a brand that has meant so much to me and does great things for great people, and putting the series name out there as well. So thank you to CanadianMiniIndy.com. If you're looking to get into rookie karting or any karting at any level, you want your real world racing dreams to start coming true, that's the place it can start. So go check them out in the description below. That'll round us off. Thank you to Canadian Mini Indy for everything they do. We'll throw up the series schedule here again, just so you can see where we go the next couple of weeks. So next week we go to the Worldwide Technology Raceway, aka Gateway, for your second oval of the year to round off the end of January. Then on the 6th we go to Autodrome Nazionale Monza. There we go. There's my Italian side coming out. And then we go to Indianapolis the week after. That race will probably be changed to another night or postponed, because that should be Super Bowl weekend unless I'm off. I think the Pro Bowl would be on the 6th, and then the Super Bowl will be on the 13th. Whenever the Super Bowl is, there will not be a race that day. We will either move it to a different day on the weekend, or we will postpone it a week. Regardless, there won't be a race in the Super Bowl because it will fall on a Sunday. So don't worry about that. If you're a Super Bowl fan, no drivers or fans will have to miss it. There's the rest of the schedule to the end of the season. The All-Star Race doubleheader is on the 27th, unless it gets moved back a week to the 6th of March. That'll about bring us to the end of the broadcast. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again to Jack Hillier for being our co-broadcaster tonight, giving us another voice in the booth. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Chris Ferrara, our new race director. We'll have to get things worked out for the rest of the season going forward, but I really appreciate his work tonight, throwing that vital yellow towards the end of the race that really spiced things up. So sincerely appreciate everybody in the series. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your week, everybody, and we will see you all next Sunday for the 4th round of the Snowstorm Open Wheel Racing Series season at Gateway. Have a great week, everybody. On behalf of myself and everybody, I'm Marshall Crocker Jr. Have a good night.